Hi, how are you?
No, you just had to press copy of it.
Oh, I'm so new to this. YouTube training. That's what I feel like it is. Sup, Squishy? Welcome to the live. This is Witching Hour with Brimstone and Luna. She will be joining us later, but we also have some special guests that are joining us tonight. I'm a little bit late. I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep. Hey, Cody. If anybody wants to join, there's a link in the chat, or just here to talk.
Alright, get a shot, get a shot. Hey, what's up, sis? What's up, sis?
What's
Get
up?
your shots, fuckers. I can't hear you. Give me a second. Get a shot. Fuck water. Get a shot. Give me a second.
I feel like I'm on the wrong one. I think it's this. Yeah, there we go. See, I'm learning. Yeah, Cody, I was a little bit late. I sent the invite out earlier through different servers, and yeah, I didn't really put the time on there. I didn't think about that one. So, what are y'all up to? When my ladies join, we'll talk a little bit more about the spiritual stuff. I'm so new to this, it's ridiculous. I don't even know what to talk about right now until everybody gets in here. Boom.
Hey, I'm outside now. Hey, sis.
Hey,
How are you doing?
good.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm fucking perfect.
Oh, I love that tag, Bree.
Ugh.
Your
My legs
favorite
don't work.
bitch.
Oh, shit. Oh, my god. The moon is pretty, though.
Every time I plan the Facebook, I think of different subjects I'm gonna come up with.
Hey, is that Val? What's up, Val?
You just now
Is that
noticing?
Val? Yeah, it's Val.
Oh Lord.
Oh gosh.
What's up, sis? What's his name? How Cody doing?
Oh Lord.
Well,
Tears.
what?
Have you been drinking?
I'm good. I didn't fall. I sat down. I'm on a live.
Get off
I'm on a live.
We lost you.
Yeah, you're on a live.
I'm on a live. Give me a second, sis.
What the
Yeah, I'll be back.
This is a funny
Yeah.
kid. That's a funny kid. I,
Oh my god.
he's probably not gonna remember none of that tomorrow.
Nope.
No.
That's okay.
Probably not.
Like,
Most
look
things.
what
So
you did
tight.
on YouTube.
You made a whole ass of yourself. Congratulations.
I can't hear you, Bree.
You can't hear me?
Uh-uh.
Why?
It's really soft.
It's not. It's because it was in my earbud.
Oh. I like that color.
Thank you.
Kind of reminds me of mine at the ends. My ends are like rose gold. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like a cherry lime rose gold mix.
My hair's like 50 different million colors.
So I decided like I didn't like my braids where they were sitting, so I'm like redoing them and like only breaking them so far down and like leaving them loose.
So you're going pink and blue?
So I'm going pink, like it's like a pinkish and cherry wine and blue, smoky blue. Gotta be an individual, you know. But then again, I gotta fucking
That's funny.
do this, and because if I don't,
Yeah,
I
it's a
go batshit
scar
crazy.
where you fell off your bike.
No, it's where I fall off the table. My I bumped my back on the table at the school.
That's not what that's like.
Yeah, it's fine. No.
Kids,
So what is she doing?
don't let her argue.
So what's the topic for tonight?
Huh?
What's the topic for tonight?
I was over here. I was like, I don't even know what to talk about right now. I'm
I
drawing a
said,
blank.
what's the topic?
Well, honestly, the first time I got on here, I first Facebook live was over spiritualism, and then the last time I tried to do a live on witchcraft, and it ended up being a live about the Native Americans and the indigenous, and it just went from there.
Okay.
And honestly, it's whatever anyone wants to share. It's witching hours, so it's a feel free to share topic type thing. I mean, witching
Okay.
hour is honestly where a lot of witches can come and they could just feel comfortable and talk, especially the females,
Yeah.
because I know there's a lot of people like dragons discussed before that don't really feel comfortable with their gifts, with their practices, discussing it with other people. I just feel like,
So
it's over well past oppression age, and people just
right. I got sent
need to
some
feel
videos
proud.
today. I got sent some videos today about from this lady called what was her name? Something Ogaya on from TikTok, and she talks about starseed. And the concept that I had of starseed was it's completely different. And what she described is like everything that I am. And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, we're a creator. Yeah, everything. We are sent here on a specific mission to create and live out this specific mission
Hmm.
and experience certain things like it's already predestined out. Like, and then everything is like, I was like, and
I would
how
definitely
and like
be
how
happy
strong and like how
if I had
strong
those
like
females
our
that would come in
power
here and share their experiences.
like and how strong like your ability is like just the fact that you can think something and it manifests. And I
Hmm.
was like, dude, I know I'm a shit ton of things. She's like, but you are higher, like the star seeds are higher than most, practitioners because we're specifically sent or whatever. And I was like, I'm an alien. I know it's an extraterrestrial witch bitch.
Yeah, when they put you on the spot, like, oh, you were meant for something.
Like,
My
yeah,
mom
you're meant
says
for like
that
you
to
have
me,
a
and
mission
I'm
and
like,
like
what am
and
I
she
meant
goes over
for?
like right, but she goes over like how negativity, like whenever things start going negatively, or we get, and she was like over addiction and like relationships, like if we choose to be in one, and if we choose to be around that because we will do it to its fullest to complete that mission, to understand it to the point of whatever. And I was like, that makes so much sense. Like that's like completely it.
Yeah, complete eye opener because
I was like, that's
honestly,
totally
it's
me.
like I've been
So I was
through a lot of depression stages and bipolar stages, and
but we
you
don't
know,
have
a
mental
lot of
illness
people are
either.
like, "Oh, this
Like
stuff
that's
is
what
what's
she goes
gonna
over.
hold you back and keep you from your power." And
But she was
honestly,
saying like,
it's
you know
more
what?
than
They think that we have mental illness, but in reality we don't because we're living in our physical body's in the third, our mental is in the fourth, and our spiritual is in the fifth.
that. True, true.
And it literally changes the makeup of our brain.
Mhm.
And I was like, what?
I love it because honestly, where people thought it was a step down, okay, take a deep breath there for a second. You can see that as a step down. But if you look at it a different way, you can also see it as a
Hmm.
step up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing
Right.
me and my
And it's
mom
like
talked about today.
sh- she
Like
goes over the
taking
fact that like
things and you
um
the right way.
she right because she goes over the fact that like we get put in these boxes you just, and we wonder why we don't feel like we fit in, or we always feel like we're a constant trial, or we feel like that we're constantly, you know, misunderstanding what we are, who we are, and how we are, but because we don't want to, we don't realize it, but
Right.
we are literally, there's only a few of us. There's only a few, like few meaning there's probably only like a couple
Turn it
thousand
down a little
that
bit.
exist truly, you know, like so we're a rarity, you know,
No
but
sense in it being no
when
people.
we exist, that our purpose is to learn and teach and go through these trials so others don't have to. And I
Hmm.
always said, I have to go through shit so somebody else doesn't have to. And it's always bad shit. And I was like, man, I was like, and I'm like, I'm not sitting there saying like, you know, whatever. Like, I should have said like Dragon, like I'm a fucking god. And like this whole thing was like legitimate. She's like, you are a creator. You are the creator. And I was like, what?
Like you told me what now?
You're telling me I'm right? I'm not
Yeah,
crazy? But
yeah.
like, because I always tell people like they're like, "Oh, you're vulva," and I'm like, no, like that's like a smidge,
So
you know.
what was it like when you first became a vulva?
So I knew I had gifts when
I
I
feel
was
like
young.
I said that wrong.
A vulva? Oh yeah, it's a or it's called a volar, actually, and that's actually where we get the name for our lady parts. Believe it or not, is that word. Um,
I
but
feel like I said it how I used to spell it because I used to spell it VULVA, and I'm like,
it's
that's not
VO, right? But no, my nana, who was a devout Catholic, Irish Catholic woman, literally looked at me when I was younger and told me that I was going to be different from everybody and I wasn't going to be Christian. She said, "You're too big for God." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "So there's more than just God." She goes, "I don't know what they are." She goes, "But there's more than God." And she said, "Where do you," she goes, when she'd asked me, she goes, "Where do you feel your God?" I said, "Why my God?" She goes, "Well, what does it look like?" I told her, I said, "God is a woman." And I told her, and I had described Freya to her, actually, for the first time. And it was one of my fondest memories because my nana looked at me and she said, "Now, are you an angel or are you an imp?" Is what she called me, an imp. My dad used to call me an imp, so a little devil child. And I said, "Well, no." I said, "I'm not an angel." I said, "But I'm like Michael." I said, I fight." So I was describing a Valkyrie when I was little. And she said, "Oh, okay." And she said, "What do you wear?" And I would tell her, and I would tell her this. I would describe my wings, and she goes, "I could see your wings." And she said, and she would point out different things on me, like my freckles and, you know, different dimples and things in their attributes. And she said, and she looked at me and she said, she goes, "When I go," she goes, "is when you'll really learn." She goes, "And you're going to have a tough life." She's like, "You're already going through enough." She goes, "But you're going to have gifts that are going to help others because you're you." And I said, "Okay."
That's
And she
awesome.
goes, "You'll have the ability to see more than you know." And I said, "What?" 8 years old. I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" And she said, "You're going to see when I go." My nana
Lala.
passed away.
Will you bring me my baby Yoda, please?
It's over on the couch.
my
I forgot in the
so fast forward a year, my nana passes away Christmas Day of 2000, and I got hit with the biggest fucking Godsmacker
as
ever.
long
Like,
as you hang on to it.
and I literally went home. I was at my godparents' house, and my godmother comes and looks at me. She goes, "Well, hey, babe, I gotta take you back home because mom's going home. Your nana's passed away." I said, "I already know." She goes, "What do you mean,
Lala.
right?" She said, "I said, yeah, I already know." She goes, "Well, how do you mean you know?" I said, "She came and said goodbye to me, and I started seeing, and it scared me because I didn't
Oh yeah.
know why they were telling me she was gone, but she had told me she said I'll be back because my nana told me I'll be back and I'll be around." And I said, "Okay." And I'm talking to her just like I'm talking to you right. And then I started seeing others,
Yo.
and they didn't know who I was, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Like I don't
So
think I'm supposed to be seeing this. I don't think this is
I
supposed to
was
be
like losing
happening.
my
A
shit,
lot of
and
my
because I was like,
stuff my mom
I
told me
remember,
about whenever I was 3, told me I had seen a child and I was playing with him in the bathtub.
hmm
And I think that
my
was my
son,
very first encounter that I wasn't able to
my
remember.
son, yeah, like my
But
son did the same thing. He was 3, or he was 2, and he played my oldest son. So I had a miscarriage, and I would have had an older son, and his name is Daniel. And my son would tell me all the time, "Daniel's messing up my toys. Daniel's doing this. Daniel's doing that." I said, "Who the hell is Daniel?" And I kept thinking, I was like, "I know that name. That was the name I was going to give my son." And he said, "Well, he's my brother." And I said, "What do you mean he's your brother?" He said, "He's my big brother." And I said, "How do you know he's your big brother?" He said, "Well, Mama, he told me he was in your tummy too." I said, "When?" I said, "You're my only baby." He said, "Before me."
that's crazy. I love that.
And I said, "Okay." And then as he got older, then he kept saying, "Well, I got a little brother too." I said, "What do you mean you got a little brother?" He goes, "Well, he's not little. He's like the same age, but he was in the belly with me." He goes, "But I ate him."
Oh, I love
which
that. I love
which
the
is
kids that do
true.
that. Like I had
He
a twin, but I ate it.
he ate his twin. And Joshua is very like intuitive. So like it runs in our family. So I learned that through my history and doing a lot of studying, I started studying, going to the library, studying comedics, which is, Egyptian mythology, stuff like that. I wanted to know what I was. I started scouring for everything, started studying religion really hard, everything, didn't care. But I knew that I was different because I never fit in anywhere. I knew shit without knowing it. It didn't matter what I did. I could influence shit. I could move storms. Like it was crazy. Like I never had a tornado hit my house. Tornadoes be ripping right down the highway, literally pick up and then drop 2 blocks over and drop back down
Dropped
every
right
time.
over your house.
Yep,
Yeah,
they would
I've
pick
had
up
that
and drop
happen
right over there.
before. If you remember 2000 and I think it was 21
Mhm.
or 21 or 2. It was whenever
Yep,
it hit Bowling Green, Kentucky. It went right
yep.
over the house and it missed the house completely. But that whole
But
house, like
here's
cloud
the funny
over
part.
it. The walls weren't shaking or anything, but you could see the funnel
No,
cloud like directly
yeah,
above the house.
I watched one.
It
We were
was
coming out of Home
21 was
Depot.
when I first got out of rehab.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
I figured it was
we
one of
had
those
just
years.
come when I was
And
younger.
my
We had just come
memory's
out of Home
bad.
Depot, and I literally watched an F3 touch down and come to me. And my mom's like, "We're heading to the house." I'm like, "Go home," because I'm like 9, 10 years old. I'm like, "Get to the house, I'm gonna die," and and I'm like freaking the fuck out. So I get in the bathroom and I have my dog, I have my cat, and I'm sitting there. I go and I'm like, snap, I'm like, "Go away, go away, go away, go away," and I can literally hear the siren.
My
And
mom could tell
literally,
you
as
I had
soon
to
as
have my bottle of
it gets
chocolate milk.
right up the highway, right to the house. It picks up, goes about a mile and a half down, and drops back down. My mom goes, "How the fuck did that happen? It was heading straight here." I said, "I don't know."
No, I know.
So,
Yeah, you don't want to explain things like that to your mom because they won't
well, I
understand them.
was sitting and I would tell my mom, she goes, and she would always see me like whenever I get crying or whatever, that shit would shake, shit would just move across the room. Um, like just random shit. She's like, and that's when she told me later on, she goes, "I didn't believe in it." She goes, "But I realized that you have a gift from God." She goes, "Whether you believe in God or not." She goes, "I do." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." She goes, but you could do things without knowing it, Brie. She goes, you would know shit without knowing it. You would move shit without moving it. You would appear out of fucking nowhere. And she goes, I could be standing in a room and you'd be standing right there and I wouldn't see you. And I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, tricky
And she
astral
goes,
projection.
um,
Very tricky.
supernatural strength for a long time. My son did it. My son had this habit of being baby Hulk and walking around picking up couches at like 1 and 2 years old, just for the fuck of it.
Her being able to talk to spirits and see spirits, what happened when she was 3. When she was able
Yeah.
to communicate better with them,
Hmm.
I think, was when she hit her teenage years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and every single
when
one of them
I,
started coming to me like, "Oh, can you help me? Can you help me pass on?"
yeah,
I'm like,
when,
"How am I
let's see, when
gonna
I
do
was
that?" I
16,
was
that's
like
when it really
12
hit me.
whenever I
Well,
had my
no,
first one ask me to help them pass on, and it was a
I
teenage
was,
boy,
I
and
started, I
I
was
didn't know him for
17.
liking me. I was like, "What do I do?"
Do you remember when the guy came through the wall and slapped you?
Hmm.
I used to have a little girl that would come up my street crying and tell me, she goes, I'm lost and I can't go home. And I would always see the worst. So I have this weird thing. So I've always walked this fine line between, I guess, what's dark and light. I just call it positive and negative. It's a very, very like hair thin line. Um, but I always told myself I had to experience the bad because no one else could handle it. And so if I handled it, I could take the pain of it. And I would literally touch like my mom or my dad or somebody, and I could take sickness away from people too when I was younger. And I would make my friends stop being sick. I would make, them or calm them down very quickly. Like people are like, when you walk into a room, you command their presence. I said, I don't do anything. I said, I stand there. And they're like, yeah, but what you're do I said, no, 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 you don't understand. I said, I'm normally nervous. They're like, but they don't see you like that. And I said, why not? They're like, because they think that you're like, your shit. And I'm like, well, I don't. And my mom looks at me and she goes, Bree, you're a lot stronger than you think. And she goes, and a lot powerful than you think. She goes, but you don't realize that not everybody's like you. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, not everybody's like you. And she
True.
goes, you will struggle the most because there aren't people like you.
Hmm.
And I was like, the fuck do you
That
mean?
that's why I wasn't technically a part of like in crowds and stuff like that. Not a
Yeah,
lot of people when I
I
told them
was,
that I was a witch was
yeah.
like, "Oh, hey, let's be friends," you know. And
So
when I
when I
told
went,
them, there was like one person that stuck around after I told a lot of people. I was like,
right,
I can
right.
sit here and I can confess to you how I am or who I am as a person. I would tell people, just beware.
Oh yeah, I
I'm
would tell,
very sensitive around emotions. They call that an empath. So I wasn't able
right.
to be around like big crowds of
Well,
people.
it's like,
So it was really
I
overwhelming.
had this, I have this thing I call word vomit because sometimes I can say shit, sometimes I can't. And when it's word vomit, it's like literally I can't control it and it comes out. My son actually spoke different languages when he was younger. Me, however, um, when I was 13 is when it started. I would be able to walk up to a person and I would get overwhelmed because I would start seeing their trauma like a movie reel. And like I
Mm,
was living it, like I was living it. And I was like, you need to get, and I would, people were like, why are you so mean? I was like, no, you need to get away from me.
that
And they're like,
moment when
why?
you
And
look
I'm
in
like,
someone's eyes
because
and you
I
can just
would be
read
like,
it.
I'm literally, and I would sit there and go, I would tell them stuff, and they're like, how do you know that? I've never, they're like, how the fuck do you know this? And I'm like, I don't know. Who did you talk to? Nobody. I don't know you from Adam. I don't know how I know that. I don't know where I got it from. You tell me. And they were like, that's fucking weird. I'm like, yeah, it's just weird. Coincidence. Crazy shit, right? Nope.
Yup.
So, but I was like, going through my first ride at 13 scared the shit out of me. So,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm getting blurry.
yeah,
Somebody playing with the
yeah.
camera.
But like, I went through my first ride at 8, and then I went through my next one at 13, and then my last one at 16, and then it went 21 after I died 3 times in that time frame. I died giving birth to my son, and came back, and just so he could be born, which allowed him to be born. because he's born of a star. He is
What?
a star.
I love that.
And I was like, what? I was like, please explain. They're like, he is the star. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, I think he's good luck. And I was like, don't say that. I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, raising esoterical children is hard enough. What the fuck you telling me?
Yeah, if we probably
But
had all those rainbow babies today, we'd probably have like piles
but
and piles
living
of kids.
but living in the South and being this is hard. Like you got judged, like I got judged for questioning everything, finding holes in everything, you
Yo,
know.
I went through different churches trying to figure out where do I fit in? Because
Yeah, I
all my
mean,
family was going to church. All of them were
right.
like, "This is good for
Girl,
you. This is
I
the
went to
right
church just to get the
spiritual
fuck out the
path
house.
that will help you seek guidance." But every
Right,
time I prayed, I was like, "There's nothing that's happening right now. There's nothing
right.
going on." I was
Cause
like, "What's
my
supposed to
mama,
help me? What's supposed to help my family?" And
right.
it wasn't until I was like 10 that I got a little bit more into my practice. And, as I was still going to church, I
Well,
started going to a non denominational church. And I
well,
told the
what I
pastor,
didn't
I was like,
realize is
look,
that my
my
nana was
dad
teaching me
stopped smoking
kitchen
when she
witchery.
was 54.
Right.
And they told me that it was the power of prayer that helped her. I was like, no.
No, no.
I had gave her a rock when I was just that little and I didn't understand the power behind the rock that I had given her.
Uh-huh.
I gave her a quartz crystal that had been just raw and hadn't been cracked open yet.
Oh wow. See, that's the thing is I was doing kitchen witchery before I knew anything because my nana was teaching me stuff. Never measured shit. It was a pinch of this, a dash of that, a smidge of this, and you had to do it for this long, and it had to feel like this. You had to smell it, you had to taste it, and you had to feel it. But the number one thing is that you either put all your hate into it or you put all your love into it.
True,
And I
true.
was like, why? She goes, because it makes it better.
That's why I teach that in my crystals class. I'm like, nope, don't put all that negative energy into it. You
I'm
want to
like,
push that out before you touch that crystal.
what's like they say? You ever hear a
Otherwise, then
southern
what's
woman?
the
You'll
point?
hear a southern woman go, "Damn, they put their foot off in it," and that's the reason why. Is because they literally said they broke their foot off in it because that was a way to say, hey, they're hexing you or they're putting something on you to make you either better or worse.
I knew I was a little witch that was attached to crystals the moment I started collecting rocks
Mm-hmm.
whenever I was young. I
Thinking,
just picked
mm,
up the random shiny ones that looked like they had a white crystal on them.
oh yeah, yeah. My godmother, her road name was Jules because she loved shiny shit and she made jewelry. So I grew up like around all the crystals and shit. And she wasn't a Christian at all. She was a Buddhist.
Ooh, there you go. That's
She was raised
powerful
a
enlightenment
Catholic.
right there. They know what they're talking about.
She was raised a Jersey Catholic, girl, Roman Catholic,
I
but
would say
was
like a
was
really
a Buddhist.
powerful thing. I don't know how. Uh, I would have to say true. I guess would be the word for it. It is the if you watch What's Love Got to Do with It with Tina Turner and it's got
Hmm.
Angela Bassett in it. That woman sitting there talking about if you basically move on, you can have the power to not let your past get the best of you, basically. And she starts
That's
teaching her the mantras of Buddhism and basically helps her get through that particular journey. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know how
See,
true or
that was
accurate
the
that was,
craziest
but
thing is that my nana, I would tell people that I knew stuff that my nana told me, and they're like, but she's been dead for now it's 23 years, and I was like, she tells me this, and my mom was like, she's not telling you anything, right? I said, no, she is. She's telling me things all the time. I said, I remember it. I know what she's telling me, and it's a thing called ancestral memory that a lot of people don't know about, and it's memories from your other ancestors that are passed down to you genetically and you
mhm.
remember it. And so I can remember from lifetimes ago lessons I've learned, but I can't remember yesterday.
Yeah,
And I learned that I'm dead serious, but I
yeah,
can't fucking remember yesterday.
you're pretty
But then
much
there was
spot
like, I
on.
would look at my mom and I was like, Mom,
Which
I said, Nana used to
freaking
say this. And
moments I have. I forget stuff almost all the
she
time.
was like, how do you know she said that to you? And I said, because she said it to you. Because my mom's face would be like, the fuck? I said, what, Dana just come out my mouth? She goes, yeah. And I
It's
said, she's
interesting.
telling me to tell you. And it would freak her the fuck out every time. She's like, stop doing that. And I said, why? She goes, it's hard enough. I've lost her already. I said, no, you don't understand. She's here. And I proved it to my mom one day. My nana would sit in, because we had her old rocking chair, her chair in our living room. My nana used to sit her cigarette butts up on end. She'd never lay them down. And every time she'd show up, you'd hear the front door slam. It'd be a breeze come through. And then you see the rocking chair start doing this. And we walk out the room and come back, and all the
I
cigarette butts
love
be sitting,
that.
stand up in the ashtray.
She sounds like she was a spunky woman.
She was crazy. She was a 4'11". She was 4'11", cussed like a sailor, spoke like a freight train, crazy
That,
fucking
that was
Irish
my
woman, and she was
Nana.
mean as shit, mean as
She
shit.
had a temper too, boy, buddy.
Hell
She was
yeah.
like
She used to tell me
4'11",
she used
and
to
her
beat the
temper
shit
was
out of my
like
great granddaddy whenever he come home
25
drunk as
pounds
fuck.
bigger than her.
Look, she was telling me all the time. She's like, "Yeah, your great granddaddy come home drunk as shit after the war." He was a good man when he's sober. When he came home trying to beat on me when he was drunk, she said, "I beat him with a wet mop, a vacuum cleaner. Didn't matter." She said, "I locked his ass outside one day." I said, "Really?" She said, "Hell yeah."
I
I was
love
like,
that.
"Yeah." I said, "What the hell?" She goes, "He ain't gonna do that shit to me." She goes, "And his dumb ass died on the side of the road." I said, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, he died frozen, freezing to death, waiting for the bus." I was like, waiting to go home from the pub. I was like,
Wow.
Nana. Now, mind you, this woman had polio. She couldn't read. She walked to work every day. She was an orphan. Lived on a Philadelphia on a Pennsylvania Dutch farm with 24 other kids. Did farm work, and was never given the opportunity to use any of her disabilities as a crutch ever. And that woman would, I mean, she was a monster. She fucking worked,
Yeah, my,
and
my
she taught me a
dad's
lot of my
like
stuff.
the same way. Like he doesn't use that as a crutch. He just keeps going. He'll never
That's my
stop.
grandpa. See, like my family, they're like the Italian side of us. They're like, if we stop working, we die. Because my great grandpa, the minute he stopped working, he got sick and he passed away. And that was in his late 90s. And he was like, "What do you?" I said, "What do you mean he stopped working?" They're like, "He didn't stop actually working till his late 80s, and then by his mid 90s, he was sick and passing." And I said, "What?" And they're
Yeah,
like,
I
"Yep."
feel
And
like
my
that
and my
probably
grandfather
was
said that he
because
goes, "If I
was
stop working, I'm gonna
like his
die."
body was so used to being active, he didn't have time to sit there and adjust with his body shutting down. Like
Right,
sometimes that
right.
shit doesn't catch
I
up
mean,
with you until like
we had a
years
produce
later.
farm. They had a produce farm, the Geneseo Produce Farm, up in Massachusetts. They My grandfather grew corn, and his only sign was the only sign that spelled corn with a K and backwards. I kid you not. And they would trade it with the doctor and other people in town for stuff. And my great grandma, she had a 2 acre vegetable garden that she would grow too, um, for the house and for if they needed extra stuff at the stand. And my grandpa said my favorite. He goes, my favorite story is he said when I planted jalapenos next to your great
Girl,
grandma's
are you
bell
having
peppers
technical difficulties?
I
and
am
made them all spicy.
very much so. It keeps throwing me out. My phone does.
Well, that's
But yeah,
not
no, like
very
it
nice.
wasn't easy. Definitely wasn't easy growing up as a witch, or I guess you call me a
Did you
witch.
take
I,
anything
so
out to cook?
I'm a I'm a shamanic practitioner. I say shamanic because I do many practices. I do Norse, I do Native Indigenous. I'm a healer, but I'm a healer with the death hand,
I'm still learning the healer part because,
and
as I
that was
said,
the hardest thing
that whole pathway is like lit
because you
up.
stand in the middle between life and death constantly,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
I
scary as
found
fuck.
that out the hard way. I mean, it's like I'm a twinkling light for these things that want to be like, "Hi, how are you?"
Hmm.
And
And then come and smack you in the
I
face.
don't know what to do with you yet. I mean, I've helped
A little apple.
and I understand the purpose of it, but at the same time, I'm like,
The
how can I
hardest
help the
part,
physical people other than just the deceased people?
the hardest part is dispelling the sicknesses when you actually get them and you're able to remove an actual sickness. is getting rid of it and not taking it into yourself.
That's
That's
what
the
I hate
hardest
about
part.
her practicing the healer part
Mm,
because with her health the way it is, it would just make it worse.
yep. Sometimes
It
you
did
can take it
mine.
on. Sometimes if you're not careful, you
My
can't take
health
it
has
on.
just went on a poopy over the years anyway. So
It will. It'll go for a dip and it'll come back up. Believe it or
I
not.
feel like as long as I know how to re-energize myself and ground myself
Honestly,
and get
I
ready for
didn't
what I'm prepared for, then I should be good. I mean, I
listen.
replenish a lot. I re-energize a lot. I
I will
rejuvenate
say
a lot.
this. I'm a certified nutritionist and dietitian. I've worked with a lot of doctors and I've heard everything. I did sports nutrition and shit like that. I will tell you this first and foremost of anything. Listen to your body. Fuck what the doctors say. Listen to your body. If you feel like you need something, take it. If you feel like you need to eat something, eat it. Because your body craves what it needs. And if you're
We,
craving something, there's something in it that you're lacking.
yeah, a lot of that's my iron, and it's really weird. I've craved raw meat
Are you
before. And
sure
I'm
it's your
like,
iron?
Yeah, are you sure?
Because there's other factors that play into that.
well, I figured that's what it would be. I'm anemic, so
Because you could be B12 deficient. You could be vitamin C and D and B12 and B2
I have
deficient.
vitamin D deficiency. Like that stays
And
low.
a lot of people who are anemic are D deficient because we don't get enough rays from the sun. But we don't
I'm
like
like,
being outside
I
either
can't be in the sun
because
all
we're
the
light
time
sensitive.
because it makes me even more tired than what I say all the
Yep,
time.
it drains you.
And I'm like,
You're light sensitive.
I love that color on you.
I think I'm just like it's all pretty
Yeah.
right now.
I'm over here looking at our shirts. I'm like, how do we do this? How do we end up matching?
But it says Dr. Pepper. See?
As Shadow likes to say, it's your barbecue water.
My barbecue water. I
Yo,
love my barbecue water. But no, I've been helping people for a while too. On top of it, I'm not confident, and that's why I don't put it out there. Because even though I do help
I
people,
swear.
I don't I don't ever take credit for it because you can't help somebody
Go
who
use
doesn't
the
want to help themselves.
bathroom,
You
baby.
know.
Go potty now. One.
So I always
Mm,
second guess myself, and that was my biggest
mm.
downfall. My
I'm
man used to
turning the
throw anything at
TV
me,
off.
and I used to
You
say,
done
"Why you
did
throwing
it?
anything at me?" Because you get a stubborn asshole. Yo, look at this. I got food.
Cute. But yeah.
Navigating this world is hard as a normal person, let alone have a UPG that fucks everything up.
What?
I said this world is hard enough navigating as it is, let alone add a UPG to it that fucks it all up.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it,
People look at you like you got six
you
heads,
fuck with a lot of times. But,
and I'm like, I'm not crazy.
uh-uh. No, definitely not.
Most practitioners are said to have mental illness as well because our brain functions on a different wavelength and we vibrate at a higher rate.
I have to listen to the binaural waves a lot, which helps me concentrate on more than one thing, especially when dealing with mirrors or reflective devices that different things I already know. Hey, I could channel you through this. And it's like, okay, but at the same time,
Have you ever drawn from it?
huh?
Have you ever drawn from those reflective devices? So, mirror scrying is one of the biggest things that people fuck with the most that aren't experienced. And what people
Thank
don't realize
you.
is that mirror scrying is one of the most amplified practices you can do.
I've had it happen while I'm cooking, and there's literally like a bowl of water for like noodles, potatoes. I've sat in a whole bubble bath before, by the time the bubbles have dissipated and all that stuff, I'm sitting there, I'm making ripples in the water. And, I thought for the longest time, am I crazy because I see ripples in the water? Am I crazy? Because there was images that would always form in the water. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm crazy. So I finally looked it up and I
You know
started to.
what we do? And you know what we do this
Mhm.
constantly?
I've taken
Clockwise.
pictures of images that I've seen in the water. There was one time where I actually tried it out with a candle, and it was pretty safe to do it. I had the clear quartz just in case for clear energy, and I set the bowl of water right there, and I was like, I'm touching. I feel like I need to, so I touched it, and I let it ripple. So I did it again, and I found it better to do it with like a sound bowl. The sound bowls are really a lot better, but
If you can handle
with
the
that bowl
vibration,
that
yeah.
I had in that moment, it was like a clear glass bowl, and I was
See,
communicating with one in particular because there was one that would always bother me, and I never knew who it was, and the image came straight through, and it made no sense as to how I seen this person one day, and then they passed away, and then now I'm seeing the reflection of their face in the water.
so I had premonition a lot when I was a kid, more than I do now. I would foresee a lot of shit. And it would freak me out because I was like, oh, deja vu. No. I was like, no, it's not deja vu. This hasn't happened already. No, it did. Um, I just, I would see it before it happened. Um, that, people don't, so not everybody, see, this is what it bothers me though, like on TikTok, is that when you try to tell somebody that doesn't have that gift and tries to use it, it's not because you don't want them to use it. It's because people don't, I think, fully grasp the consequences of these quote unquote gifts. I don't
So
call it a gift. I call it a
I
fucking
can
curse.
sit here and tell you the bad perks of being an
Oh
empath.
yeah, I learned by
There are
trying.
dark empaths that not only use like vampire energy, like the the little magnet people that try to feed off your energy, those energy vampires. There
Siren
you go,
curse.
backwards. But there's dark empaths that
You know
mirror
Cody's one?
emotions, and it's like, how do you how do you deal with all that? Because
So
with those people mirroring emotions around them in their environment, it truly makes them out to be like narcissistic, is what I would put it in
we're
as.
we're seen as narcissistic. We're seen as controlling. We're seen as silver tongued devils. Sirens are typically that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, shamanic practitioners, like all around, are very much that. Because we know how to manipulate the energy.
Yeah, and
So that
that's
is actually
that's what people see as
sacred.
a downfall, and a lot of people see it as a bad thing when you start reading people. They think that you're over there trying to basically siphon their energy, and you're just reading it. I've
Yeah,
had
because it
people
hurts.
sit there and say that I was a bad person in the past because I sat there and I'm telling them like I don't
But
like
you
it.
tell them
And
something they don't
I
want to
don't want
hear.
to be around it. I don't.
And because it hurts. Because when you truly tap in and you can just waltz in no matter what whose barrier has up. You're like, hey,
I can point
it's a
out
fuck mess
fake
in here.
scams.
So
I
it's
sit
like,
there and look at different ones that are on TikToks doing those readings online and everything. And
mhm. You're like, you're not real. I had one girl. That's what I called that one girl. I was like, you're doing tarot readings, but you're not even saying what the card is. You're doing it based off of what you feel, not even what it means. I said, you're a fake. She got livid, lost her shit, lost her shit. It's like, call this person. And who did she call? Called Shadow. I was like, go ahead, call my cousin. Let him know.
well,
He said, I hate to break it to you. He said, you might have did a good reading offline. He goes, but Bree called you shit. He goes, and I saw it. He goes, I hate to break it to you, but that's the truth.
Yeah, like if she calls it how she sees it, then it's true.
Because I've never been, I'm not one to lie. I never have been. I was a good kid. Stayed out of trouble for the most part. As I got older, hell yeah, I got in shit, but I learned don't get caught and you won't get in trouble. Still got in trouble anyway. Just not by the law. As an adult, I try to be straight and narrow. That didn't work out. And I always found unrest in civil society.
She did.
hmm
She
I
did
don't
it,
like
okay.
I
Yeah.
don't like the conformity. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like, why are you gonna follow that when you know
Don't get
better?
something to eat all of it.
But you're
Okay.
saying I know better, but I'm still gonna walk that. Well, why do it?
I will in a little bit.
You know, people forget that we think and feel from three places: our head, our heart, and our gut. If you're not following your gut, what are you doing? And then, of course, they have all this these trending things, like Vikings and
You okay?
cultural appropriation
You
and
okay?
things like that. And people need to realize that we are all one race, or the human race. Color has nothing to do with it. We've all faced depression at one point in time since the beginning of time. Why? Because men figured out that having power over one another felt good. And so when we take it back, that intimidates them. And knowing when you know what you have, that scares people.
True.
That's why we were pushed out. That's why we were shoved underground constantly, or massacred or whatever.
Honestly, I wouldn't explain it any other way because at the end of the day, these people are like, you're different than I am. These people are like, you have that ability, and I can't see through the looking glass and see, oh, this is what's around me, and no, this is what's wrong. And then, bam,
How can you
they're
say,
they're
I
completely
believe what
gone
is right?
in your circle.
Right, right. And how can you sit there and say, what I believe is right, right is right, and wrong is wrong, but I know this is wrong, but I'm gonna keep following it.
Hmm.
That don't make no sense. You know it. I've asked you, you know it. So why are you doing it? Because you were told to. Why are you following what you're told instead of what your instinct is? Because that means that you're taking back control of your own self. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. The only difference
True.
between us and others is we know how to use
Oh,
our
no,
own
no.
energy and manipulate the energy around us
Hi,
to
Bobby
make it
Joe.
work in our favor. That is what we do. Whatever kind of practitioner you are, whether it be witch, Wiccan, I don't care. Green, wood, gray, dark, light, it's energy manipulation.
It is. It is.
And you
And
are working with
I
something that
can't
is
see
eons
myself
old.
doing that. I mean, a lot of people, they sit there and they don't realize they're doing it. But at the same time, I'm over here, I'm within a whole circle of people that have
hmm
different energies, that have different emotions, that have different abilities, practices. They know. They
It's so
know.
fun.
And I
Right.
would not, I can't bring myself to do something like that to somebody. Still to this
If
day.
people see, people want to take our stuff and make it a religion. We're not a religion. We're a way of life. And what makes us different from religions and the reason why they cannot put us with religions, but they do anyway, is to make it more palatable. They say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is just your religion. Well, no, it's not. It's a way of life. What you do is a religion because it's a told black and white, da da da. It's not, I wake up and there's no difference between me and my higher power or me being a higher power ascended from a different time
Yep.
because I have moved through that timeline. And it's science. And people don't realize that you can relate witchcraft to science. I mean, we only use about 30 to
Especially through
45% of our
astrology,
brain.
because if you look at natal charts, it's called astromancy now, I think, but it used to
Yeah,
be something. It used to be called something different through Mesopotamian history. But with that in particular, they used natal charts to predict someone's past, present, future. They used it to read what happened in their past lives, how many moments
prophecy.
that occurred, deja vu. That was a complete
Why
ripple
you were
effect
having
on a
certain
natal
dreams.
chart. Like this
Right.
line crosses this line so many times.
Because they
And
figured out that
people always
timelines
wondered why
cross.
they had those moments. And it
Right.
started from there, honestly. I mean, I deal a lot with astrology and
And it's
knowing
because
that in
they're,
particular
yeah,
and
right.
knowing that's what that pointed out, it changed a whole entire history.
Well, you have to think too.
I mean,
Aristotle and Galileo
lunar calendars
realized,
is what everyone started off with in
hmm
Wiccan witchcraft history. They used to read the moons to get the months by. They used to count the days down with the phases of the moon, all that whole ordeal. And
right.
then what do
But
we
they
have?
also realized that the time that like Galileo and Aristotle, they realized that time was linear. And if time was linear, that means that more than one had to exist.
Hmm.
Well, the concept of time never existed really. We just knew it got light and dark, and time passed. We
Exactly.
aged, we got older, like a cycling of a plant, because we
Yeah.
were a living thing. We,
I don't know if you ever heard the constellation story of Ephesians. Have you
yeah,
heard about
I
that?
have.
It's technically the 13th zodiac, but I'm going to share it with others. The
Yeah,
basic story is there was a god. I'm going to say which one. I'll let you do your own research for that one. But there was one that came down and was like, I'm going to introduce you to fire. And that was first caveman, technically. But, you know, it took that moment, and you can still take this moment as a learning example of what once used to be dark then became warm, light, filled with that particular hearth of a moment that was like,
but if you look at even at
here it
evolution,
is.
the
I
theory of
created
evolution,
fire.
and if you take that, you look at the theory of evolution, we adapted to our surroundings to survive. It's instinctual. So if we have the instinctual need to want to thrive, we're going to find out ways to better it. Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes into play, psychology. So people don't realize, like, this is, it's like it's
Hi,
such an intricate
Wizard.
thing,
Hi, Jess. Hi,
is
Leonie.
that psychology and science and biology, or chemistry, biology, and psychology all play into occult belief, because you can literally show how it has affected the human body. We are created by design. We are not just naturally just there we were. You would have had to, someone had to create this.
Yep.
Something with a sentient knowledge.
Especially since if you go back to the creation of people, it's like you're so used to this certain environment versus this other environment, and then you're exposed to different things along the way, and it's just like,
And you
how
adapt.
did they adjust? How did they
Right.
adapt? How did they have time to adapt when things were constantly changing?
So we look at bacteria and we see how it evolves, how it changes, and how it moves. We saw how air changed. I mean, oxygen, period, the density, how our bodies evolved to it and used it and adapted to it, because our bodies were learning how to osmosis its way through time,
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
essentially.
Because
So
if you
when we
think
could
about it, like when
survive
the earth
without
first
having to
started
be
and
like
just
extreme.
dinosaurs, like they make it out to be like this lava filled, humid environment that humans technically couldn't live on. And then the next thing you know, it's just
Dinosaur
it
disease.
has to grow all of this grass, all these continents shift apart, and it just
So
changes.
exactly. So like Pangea, Pangea was or Panasia, or Pangea was one solid mass.
Yep.
Why were we one solid mass floating on water? But then all of a sudden break apart,
Hmm.
create passes and such.
There was a reason behind it.
Right.
Gotta be a purpose
Are you
behind it.
serious?
I mean, I feel like it was one of those things where it was like, if it was one big
Hey.
continent before it, the Earth probably felt deep within its core because they say Earth has energy in its core. Oh,
He was snoring.
you good, buddy?
Yeah. Nothing. Are you good?
What?
And then,
What?
Mom,
Okay.
we all have secret.
Hmm?
We all have secret.
You want kangaroo?
Get up.
Weird.
Still.
Oh, now it's working. My camera keeps going blurry,
Oh,
and then it goes back.
sure.
There's an invite if anybody wants to join.
Come on, you. Come on, you. Huh? But I'm gonna hop out of here so I can finish my hair because it's long.
All right. You have a good one.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Alrighty. So, does anybody have any questions today? Honestly, it's a welcome place to come and share your stories, to come and share your stories about your craft. It's a safe haven, so honestly, it's a big thing.
What?
I'm talking to the live. What level?
Hmm?
What level?
Enjoy your life, man.
How is everybody tonight? I missed a few comments earlier. Hello to Ross and Wicked and Tizzy. Good morning to you. I just probably won't be on here that long.
We're gonna make you a secret, Mama.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Daddy.
Hey.
Hi, Mama.
Hiya.
Hello.
What brought you in the lovely box tonight?
Oh, we didn't want you to be alone. If it'll stay in there.
Okay, so I'll pop this one on here. If she is popping up around you, there's more than likely a reason. I'm glad you started reading because you didn't know anything about her. She is a very complicated goddess. She has like 42 epithets, and I don't know how many names that probably should not be mentioned. She has a ton of names. She has keys. She's very important within witchcraft history. I know a lot about her because I've worked with her for years. I've worked with Hecate for years.
Okay,
and
I'm
she's
ready.
always been one of my deities. I mean, if you think of the triple goddess, if you think of the triple moons, instantly that's her. And I'll tell you one thing that started surrounding me before I came here was the number three. And I was always seeing 333. So I looked up one day randomly because I work a lot with angel numbers. I was like, what does this mean? Like what goddess is this associated with? And it was like Hecate because she was the triple goddess. And then the next thing you know, the next day, and I'm drawing my runes, and I did it 3 times that day. There was not a reason why I did three. I just felt the instinct to draw three. So I shook my bag of runes. I drew one. It was the rune Kanaz, which means torch, journey, fire, um, guidance. So I shook it again, got the same room, and it was the same the third time. And it was a big eye opener because once it said torch, my automatic thought was the torch in her hand. And the very same night, I had a dream and I heard dogs growling like right in my ear. And I was like, I hear you. You don't have to say nothing else. So I started reading up on her more and more. And I read, I don't know how many epithets for this woman. I really don't. But she has like 92 names, 42 epithets. Brimo was one of them that I was really fascinated with because honestly, there were different sides to Hecate that were not exposed. Brimo was one of her epithets that was crazy psycho woman, and she was enraged all the time.
Yes.
And they do have accurate pictures of Brimo from like
I think
ancient
we're
Greece.
home.
If you ever look up Delphine is a part of Greece, and that's where she technically originates from. Uh, it's got like the pillars there still that are seen as a doorway to her realm. And it's really neat. I learned a lot, and she is definitely the goddess of witchcraft. I mean, she's seen as the queen of ghosts because you walk into a graveyard, there's automatically somebody that you're gonna want to offer some things to. Speak too much, but honestly, she's connected to spirits. She has a way with the other world that no one else does because she holds the key to that gate. And not a lot of people choose to work with her because they see her as a dark goddess. Just like a lot of people choose not to work with Lilith because they see her as a dark goddess. They see her as a bad person. Uh, I transitioned from Hecate, and then I went straight into Lilith's path actually. And what's big about both of those is they're both considered dark goddesses, but at the same time, Hecate teaches you the path of witchcraft, whereas Lilith, she teaches you the path of shadow work. She teaches you the path of oppression. She teaches you the path of uh, divine feminism and divine masculine. There's a big thing about that one. Yeah, the in between. I mean, the easiest to go about that one. There's still a relation to, well, not really a relation, but trying to tell the difference between Persephone and her and the purposes of what they do. Persephone is just there in the other world already, whereas Hecate is like going in between, kind of similar to Hermes, but you know, hers doesn't have to have a key. She holds the key to a lot of gates for the underworld, more than just the underworld. So that's another thing you'll read in the epithets was she had the first one. Her first epithet is Diana, and then it goes into Artemis, Athena. It goes into Aphrodite. It goes into Selene, Brimo. It goes into a lot of them. Yeah, she was a god and a gatekeeper. And I will say there are some big similarities between Hecate and Lilith. They're both triple goddesses, but a lot of people don't see the connection with Lilith and the triple goddesses. Honestly, it all has to go back somewhere, and the beginning from Lilith to the triple goddesses was Selene. And the reason why that is because she's seen as the mother of all, the mother of the moons, and she had a lot of daughters. And before her, of course, was Lilith, but it's pretty much the same purpose, that uh, you have someone who's representing the maiden, you have someone who's representing the crone, you have someone that's representing the mother. And Lilith was a mother. She's also seen as a god. She's also seen as a gatekeeper. It's unfolding stories that keep going on and on and on and on throughout history, and they're on and on and on changed. I mean, they're continuously changed. The three crossroads. I was waiting for that one. Uh, Originally, it started out as just one. You have the first one that's like right there in the middle, and it just goes two ways. But if you stand right there in the middle, it's not suggested that you do it. But, that's where you can call on her at, and then you automatically have the third one that's like right straight in front of you. But you have more than one lovely gate to go through with her, and she will not be done with you until she says so. Some say she has 9 gates, and that is a thing. If you look through her epithets, there's nine total because she has 9 keys. But yeah, the rest of it is just a little bit of a spiritual path that you have to find out the rest on your own. Do your research. Yeah, definitely reading. Uh, Definitely suggested. I can actually suggest some good books. One is called Enter the Garden, and then the other one I think is called The Circle of Hecate. Or then there's Keeping the Keys. Keeping the Keys tells a lot about the keys and their purposes and a lot about her. It's definitely always good to read.
I can't see the chats. If I turn the chats on, it boots me out.
Oh no,
I don't know
your
either.
phone might be different than mine.
Yeah, if I try to see the chats, because it's got chat right there. If I hit chats, it'll boot me out of out of this box.
I can tell you straight up, if you don't know how to create an altar, some people make theirs specific to elements. Some people make theirs with grids of crystals. Some people even grab different ornaments and set them in a certain alignment and put that on their altars. It just depends on what they feel, what their intuition is right for that certain thing, what they feel would need to be consecrated and put on their altar. A lot of things, like for example, if you go to the Latin American culture and how they started the Day of the Dead, they started out altars with sugar skulls, candies, candles. They started it with certain incense that would associate with that point in history, like the passing of the dead. If you think of astrology, there are crystal grids that are made for different planets, different planet alignments. Different planets have different elements, so it's very complicated to do an astrology altar, especially if you're very specific about your moon phases, your planetary alignments, everything. So it's all about what element you work with, what you think is necessary for that you can align specifically for you. If there's a certain grid that you want to look up and you feel that grid is right for you, you can set your crystals in that grid and start from there. And just make sure to bless it and put your protections over it. And then you can look up the first few elements: north, south, east, and west, and you can incorporate those if you wanted to. Yeah, there's definitely lots of different ways. If you found some keys, there might be somebody trying to tell you something. You'd have to definitely look more into that one. Like if you found a certain amount of keys, or if you found keys put somewhere, what are those keys made of? What do they associate with? Where did they come from? What do you feel would be necessary for these keys? I mean, you found them. You feel like maybe there's a purpose for them. Maybe they need to be put somewhere. Go ahead and put them somewhere. But make sure you cleanse those first, because you never know. And then if you feel like that's the thing that you even want to do with Hecate, like I find a lot of keys. I love those skeleton keys. They look really beautiful. And I used to just put 3 keys in a row until I found out different herbs and stuff that was associated with her. And I used to put 3 keys on my altar. And I used to wear one around my neck. Yeah, a lot of the times the keys are found. And that's usually whenever she's about to take you on a lovely journey. She wants to teach you something. So always look out for those tailings, those signs. It's not always a bad omen. It's not always bad luck. Sometimes it's something that we need to discover on that path. Definitely look at how you could even apply those to your altar. I mean, if you're looking into her as a goddess that you want to dedicate your altar to, are there specific things that you can do with these keys that would be helpful in your situation to make that an offering to her? Look up some different herbs and stuff that's just associated with her. A lot of people find a picture or a statue that is to the triple goddess, and they put that there. Sometimes it's even candle holders to further resonate with the torch that she holds. I'll go ahead and post this in here. If anybody wants to join, they can. The wolf is a really good creature. I do have to ask, why did you choose the wolf? We'll focus on that one. Yes, it's a dog, so that can still work with her. So it's definitely a good thing that you still have something like that. But I was just curious. Like, is this animal something that's significant to you? Is this like a spirit animal? Is it a god? Maybe. Uh, that's what's important about that. I mean, it's more than just indigenous culture in that. It's a lot of, maybe it could give you a path to where she might lead you. Maybe. The moon oil burner. Those are really good. Those are really good. Especially if you use them on a full moon and you use them often. It is the best cleansing thing in this whole entire world. Hello. Hi, sister. So I would always buy peppermint, eucalyptus, sandalwood was the best smell in the whole entire world to ever come out of an oil diffuser. And mine had the moon shapes on it too. And I would just use that smell throughout my whole entire house, and it just calmed me. If you use the wolf as a guide, that's, like I said, a whole different ballpark. The wolf is wise. The wolf can also be aggressive. The wolf is full of pride. The wolf is free. Is the biggest part of their journey. And anybody that's in a tribe will tell you the same thing. It's a proud spirit. It's something that's free spirited and aims to set goals and automatically be like, hey, I'm not going to back up off this. This is what I want to do. Um, a lot of times you'll find that around Capricorn. A lot of times there's a lot of Capricorns that are different from the others, but sandalwood and burnt orange, those are good smells. I love the smell of oranges. I don't know why, but I do. It smells like a fresh candy shop, or the smell of a fork. I'm a Capricorn too, and yes, the stubbornness comes with it. We have another Capricorn over here right beside me. How are you tonight, sister? Are you feeling any better? Oh, she's muted. Okay. I just now seen that. Sorry. You're a Leo. Hey, Leos are pretty spunky. And honestly, I could describe Leos like me. I see a playful lion that's courageous but yet cautious. I mean, I've studied a lot of different constellations and zodiac signs, and with natal charts, they describe Leos and they break it down with cardinal points and specific points. But at the same time, there's those playful things that just pop up in what are these zodiacs meant to truly do? What are they truly meant for? how does that incorporate into my personality? Uh, Honestly, it breaks down what we've already been through. And if you go into cheer-ons, it goes even deeper. Cusp are a very complicated story. Cusp is like different planets that are in complete chaos with each other. They're just like right up on each other in the same alignment all at the same time. It's like two different signs that are like, you may have been born at this time, but you're also on the brink of being born at this time. So, like, right there. Like, I used to have this friend that was born in October, and she was a Libra, but at the same time, she was also on the verge of being a Scorpio because she was born at the end of the month. Oh, you're a little crabby crab. I love cancers. Cancers are so friendly. My little one is a Capricorn. So I'll go ahead and reveal that part. We do butt heads. We're both girls. We're both Capricorns. So you can only imagine. It's constant clash. And no, neither wants to back down because we're both stubborn. We're both lighthearted, tender, very sensitive. When I say tender, yeah, with cusp, it becomes really complicated. I mean, they sat there and they told me I was when they decided that they were going to change the zodiacs and everything. It became you could have been a Sagittarius. No, I don't want to be a Sagittarius. I like being a seagull. Yeah, Leonie, it's very complicated to live in a household full of zodiac signs that are the same sign. And if there's ever a zodiac sign that is not compatible with another but lives in the same household, you'll be able to tell because you're fighting all the time. You're not able to agree on things. You have different views of things. It doesn't have anything to do with how you were raised. It more so has to basically deal with your personality traits being different from the others, and at the end of the day, someone that's lighthearted and tender, it's not for the faint of heart. Meeting someone like that, especially whenever you encounter a Gemini, which they're more aggressive dealing with their feelings. Scorpios are the same way, and it's just like I can meet this head on. I can face this with no challenge. A Taurus is another one. Taurus is definitely another one. A bull with horns, literally. So Taurus and Capricorn tend to get along constantly because I feel like it's a thing of we both have horns. It's not a competition anymore. So it's not I'm gonna butt heads with you constantly. It's I'm gonna kind of brush horns with you every now and then, but at the same time we'll come to big huge agreements on these things. That's a whole household of tornado right there because you have a water right here. You have a Leo who's like Leos are an air sign, I do believe. It's either, yeah, I think it's air. Then Sagittarius is another water sign, and then you have Scorpios who are technically an earth sign. And I'm like, well, honestly, with the whirlwind, you have a whole mix of emotions that are constantly around that household. Yeah, there you go. Or fire. I knew it was around in there somewhere. I was thinking that it was either air or fire. I should have went with my first guess. Yeah, yeah. I'm not even gonna joke around about that. It was like I had a brain fart, and I feel like I had a brain fart on Scorpio too. But I'm not gonna judge myself right now. I'm like, yep, Libra is air. Yeah, fire signs are not too bad until you see the tempers. A lot of the fire signs you would think are very well associated with like Mercury or Mars or something around in there, and it's just that's not what I expected. Like me in particular, my alignment is with Mars, and I'm an Earth sign, and I was like, how does that make any sense? I started thinking, I was like, is this something that I need to be associated with? Is there something I need to do about this? Is there something that I need to put on my altar to align with this? So I did. I started playing around with different stones that were associated with fire. I started with obsidian and it went from there. Hi, Tinder.
Hello.
How are you?
Sitting here listening to you talk about fire signs. I'm just a lonely Gemini over here
Yeah,
being crazier than shit.
yeah, and flashing your Morty titties on the YouTube live.
Listen, my Morty titties are amazing. Mm.
I was going to ask you earlier who picked out your profile pic, you or Joey.
It was me. I ran across it and it started out with me just fucking with Cody.
How did that work out?
Because I put it up in the middle of a conversation with him. And then it just was so funny every time I looked at it. It was funny.
Yeah, every time I came on there and I seen that on there, I was like,
It's like, I cannot with you.
I couldn't keep a straight face. Pisces are beautiful. See, when I envision Pisces, I honestly think back to those little yin yang fish that are on Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think it was you, and I can't remember the black fish's name, but those little koi fish that
The
were
cute little kois.
yes,
One of them's off the wall, the other one's peaceful. Um, when I think about Pisces, I think about like it's sort of being almost in opposition to Gemini in a way because
yeah,
we're quick to flip between personalities and they're slow to flip between personalities.
very true. I mean, it's one of those processes.
Their sides are also complete extremes too. Usually, like really
Oh,
kind and really violent. Like boom, boom. But it's a slow burn.
not Hulk
They are
smash.
a slow burn. We are a quick burn, and we flip back and forth so fast. It's like shuffling a deck of cards.
Yep.
And Gemini's twins is a misnomer. We have like 30 personalities.
I've met my fair share of Geminis, and trust me, I know. Like, I could not put into words how many personalities I've seen in one Gemini. And I'm like, where am I at right now? Who am I dealing with today? What moods am I dealing with today?
I'm telling you, like, I'm. You don't got to cheat on me. I'm like 20 girlfriends in one body.
Yes, swear.
Just tell me who you need me to be today. I got one somewhere in the back. It'll
Right.
suit all of your needs.
Look, that on that list, they do not put Capricorn. Let me tell you, I've
Let
seen
me
all
tell
these
you.
lovely little TikToks that have sit there and called me out on my bullshit. Yet they do not have Capricorn on that list of zodiacs. That they're sitting there listing off on these videos right here, and I'm like, you forgot one because I feel like I'm a different breed of Capricorn. I ain't gonna lie.
Dude, I live in a house. I'm married to a Virgo. I am a Gemini married to a Virgo. I need everyone to understand this.
That's
And
a lot.
I have a child who is Aries and a child who is a Gemini.
Yeah.
We're
And
lucky we're all alive here.
yeah, because of, like I said about Jess over here, yeah, you're pretty lucky because honestly, that's a lot of button heads in one household.
There's a lot of button heads in one household. I have to pull an Aries and a Gemini apart 20 times a day.
Then over here we got Leone with Pisces and two Geminis. Goodness, I've always been around Capricorns. Like my aunt's a Capricorn, my dad, my mom, Lala, and then I met him. He's an Aquarius. And then it's like my mom and dad. My mom and my dad got together. My mom's Capricorn, my dad's an Aquarius. I was like, I see no pattern here.
Oh, dude.
Yes. I can say this 1,000 times. I'm not even kidding. You
My mom is
ever
also
look
an
at a
Aries.
tumbleweed
So
that's going in a dust wind? That's me.
my mom is also an Aries. No.
How's that look?
I haven't been around Aries all that much. I don't think.
Oh, man. I'm going to tell you, when they
Honestly,
convince
if I had
themselves of
been in high
something,
school, I don't remember.
once they convince themselves of something, it is the only truth on the planet.
So no different than a Libra.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Libras are so much.
And their
So,
temper is tied to their heart. They get their feelings hurt and their temper goes nuts.
mm,
It's from what I've personally learned
yes,
with
it's not
Aries
pretty
over
much
time.
correct.
Yeah. And Virgos have a very messy brain.
Oh,
And I'm OCD.
yeah.
So
I,
me and Brian butt heads. A Virgo and a Gemini in the same household sometimes is not great.
I used to have a best friend that was a Virgo, and honestly, I was like, how do I deal with this?
They're disorienting, aren't they?
Very detached whenever I first met him, and then the friendliest person you can meet.
Oh yeah,
Deep inside, it was like,
brooding, weird brooding
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, I lived
It was weird.
there.
I was that kid that was sitting by myself at a lunch table. He decided to come up and he was like, I, "Can we be friends? I'm not sitting with anybody else." So I was like, "Sure." And then
I was the kid trying to sit by myself at
everybody
the lunch
was like,
table, but everybody liked me.
"Weirdo."
And so I thought I was sitting by myself at the lunch table. I then quickly had a whole lunch table full of people. I did not want to be that popular.
Exactly, exactly. Like that changed. Like
Everybody was like, "You're so
where,
comfortable to be around," and I'm like, "Give it a minute."
yeah, like how mine started out. I was only me at that lunch table by myself, and then it was just two people. I could deal with two people, and then it became like popular girls, jocks at the end, and then me and my friend over here, like the goths and the skaters, and we were the outcasts of these people. And they decided they were going to have conversations with us. I was like, "Do you believe in Satan?"
What are you doing right now? Stop it. Go find something to do. Don't you have somebody to harass? Some new
And
shoes to
then
buy?
let me
Don't
tell
you got
you,
something to do?
half that group that was in the Christian club quickly moved. Because I went to this school that was like Southern kids. They had a group for like Bible meetings. Uh, like I forget what they call that. I call it
FCA or whatever.
something like that. But they could not deal with my personality at all.
I wore a leather jacket,
Hello,
ripped up
Evans.
jeans,
Welcome into the live.
rode a motorcycle to school,
Uh,
smoked cigarettes at 17. Like, I was the cool kid that was like cool because I was every parent's worst nightmare. So
Night
they
mom.
thought I was cool. I was just existing, trying to survive my life.
Yup. And like I was telling Bree earlier, it was one of those things of once I told a lot of friends what religion I was like, I don't have one. But it's the same time I'm over here. I'm like, I can tell you that I'm a witch. And they're just like,
I got to hear about myself a lot. Like, at one point, I was a Satanist.
oh,
At one point, I sacrificed babies and cats.
yeah. Literally.
At one point, I robbed a convenience store for cigarette money. Like, I heard so many rumors about myself in the span of a month
Yeah.
that it
Especially
was ridiculous.
when I got this at 15. So I've had this like going on 9 years, and then I got this at a later age. But every time, whenever people seen this and they seen my gauges, they were like, "Huh? What do I do right now? I just want to back away from this person because they're totally wrong." And I was like, "Hold on, wait a minute. Don't you have a tattoo?"
Right. I was the first goth
I have one.
in
I
our
want to.
town.
It don't matter, Miss Prissy. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I was the first goth in our town. I was, I might as well have been the devil to everybody here.
Right. Especially when I was wearing Slipknot t-shirts, Buzzfist t-shirts that had Papa Roach, Slipknot,
I was easy to pick on in
Korn.
ninth grade. In ninth grade, I was super easy to pick on because I had just gotten back from foster care and that nightmare.
I really got to people when I started wearing Children of Bodom, Lamb of God.
10th grade. I figured out that if I flinched at them, they were fucking terrified of me. The second that I figured that out, oh, it was all over. It was all over for the rest of my school time.
Right.
It was like, oh, okay.
Hey, I had a lot of skateboarding goths in my little group. There was a lot of them that just. We always stood by the Coke machine whenever I went to one high school. We stayed away from everybody else and just kind of hung with our own group there. But honestly, it's much like the Lona group. You kind of stay to yourself and you're just like, don't touch me.
My best friends were cowboys. The
Facts.
girls that I hung out with were bikers' kids. Like, we were a very eclectic group of people. And we were always all in trouble. And I can remember one time, like, we had done some shit and gotten in a lot of shit. And my mother had us all lined up in her living room. And she's like, all right, jackasses. Like, what were y'all thinking? And they were all like, but Christian, baby, my mother goes, okay, I'm going to stop y'all right there. I need y'all to understand that Christian Ann could talk Jesus into making out with the devil. Listen to me. Stop doing what the fuck she tells you to do. Stop doing what she wants you to do.
True.
She
True.
can get you to do anything. Stop it.
Yeah. I had those ordeals happen during high school. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't a bully per se. I was a pretty nice person unless people walked up to me and tried to intimidate me and then say something about my family. There was one girl I actually got in a fight with because she was talking about my family. But
I
yeah,
wasn't a bully, but I was definitely a ringleader.
yeah, that was me.
And if you go to my senior yearbook, I was voted most likely to be a cult leader.
Nice.
My senior year, which
That's
is
awesome.
fine. I'm I'm not like that.
Uh, Look, let me say
Chaos is infectious.
this right here. We were drawing that symbol everywhere in high school. Between that and that little S symbol that everybody drew, we were drawing that all over our binders. We were drawing that all over the bathroom stalls,
Oh,
right?
we had stuff
Words on the
everywhere,
stalls
man.
in Sharpie, writing all kinds of
I was
sentences on the
telling
wall.
Shadow earlier
I
tonight.
drew graffiti on the bathroom stalls.
I was telling
Meanwhile,
Shadow earlier that we had.
were on the ceiling. We were those rebels.
I was telling Shadow earlier tonight that we had gotten in trouble one time because my buddy John snuck into the Catholic Church and put red food coloring in the baptismal font.
That's great.
I was teacher's pet.
I was not.
See, I
If
was
by pet
too.
you
That's
mean
what shocked
something that
everybody.
required animal control, then yes.
I was that kid that was sitting in the front of the class, ready to take notes, and everybody was looking at me weird. I was like, "Why are you looking at me weird? You're
Yep.
sitting in front of the class. They expected me to sit in the back, but meanwhile, I'm over here. I'm like bringing the teacher apples. I'm over here. There was one time I said "damn" in third grade, and I got away with it.
I was the kid in the back of the class who slept every day through class and had a 4.0.
I was the hard worker, teacher pet, always did everything right, never skipped a day in my life.
Oh
It
man.
was it was that way until my 11th grade. That's when things went a little downhill. Well, I was 17. Yeah, everybody hits that phase. Uh, yeah, I was at that stage of I don't want to go to school anymore. I'm ready to get it done and over with. By the time it was the end of my 11th grade year, I got my grades up just like that. And it was already time for me to be in the 12th grade.
The sheriff brought me home one time in my junior year over the summer, and he hands me to my mother at the back door. And my mom was like, she never does this. And he goes, listen, we don't bother you about everything that she does, but we are sincerely sick of her shit.
This was me. This was me. I hung out in the band room. I was a band geek. I played the trombone. I played the tuba once. I played, I tried to learn to play the guitar. That did not work out. But I also
I'm not an
played the
instrument
trumpet at
person.
one point. So
My
I was a
brother and sister are.
band geek.
Mm-mm.
Like I was so band geek that I wanted to stay in band. I started that in the eighth grade. No, the seventh grade, and I tried to keep my grades up all the time. I had 4.0s up until, like I said, my 11th grade year.
My brother and sister were the band geeks of the family. They played band like constantly. I played the fiddle,
That's
the
awesome.
violin, and we didn't have a spot for that in band. So I took what they called an AP music class where I went in and basically it was just centered around me and my violin. Um, and so I did that my senior year, but like our band wasn't advanced enough to have like a spot for that kind of thing. I know other schools had jazz bands and stuff, and they had like guitar, and we didn't have any of that. So they had to design an AP band class, and I went to the college and had one-on-one instruction at the college while I was in high school.
That's awesome. I would have loved to have done something like that. Like my ninth grade year, that was my biggest dream. I wanted to go to Murray State. I wanted to get my music association. Uh, my associate's degree was going to be in something else. I think it was art, but it was between music and art, and I wanted to go to school for that. And then I just changed it come my ninth grade year.
Then they found out my senior year on accident that I had picked up playing piano from a friend,
Ooh.
and I could play Jerry Lee Lewis's music on the piano.
How did that go?
So then my mom was mad because I could have been playing piano forever. It's my was my one of my hidden talents was
I
piano.
would love to learn to play piano. There was the basic notes that I knew: A, B, C, D, F, G, because we all learned those in freaking third or fourth grade.
We learned them in choir. They taught us how to kind of basically scale so that you could, have the piano to set your notes.
Where I originally went to school, they didn't have choir, and I didn't get exposed to choir until I started going to high school, and I went to a different one, and they had a choir there because I feel like it's probably because it's a bigger school and they
our
had more
school had
opportunities.
our school had regular choir. They had a some kind of ensemble choir thing that did a lot of church music type stuff. And then um, they had show choir.
You're good, Sisoska,
So
but
they were very fun. Like they were super fun. I didn't do choir. I did choir up to 10th grade. Junior and senior year, the stakes were so much higher in choir that it was more work than anything. I didn't want to do it. So I went to
yep.
college half the day and high school half the day, junior and senior year.
Choir practice was always pretty in our hallways whenever I switched high schools. I loved hearing everybody just chime in, but my favorite part was hearing the band whenever they went to play, and then I was like, I miss it so much because my 11th grade year was the year that they started marching band, and it was so tough on me in the summertime with my asthma and everything, and I was sad that I couldn't march like I wanted to and keep up with everybody else.
My
And
sister
I
couldn't
was
do marching
proud,
band
but
because my
I didn't
sister's
prosper with art club and drama and
my sister's feet are torn up. She's got that plantar fasciitis, and she's had it since she was like 17. Real bad in her feet. The tendons are messed up. So she couldn't do marching band like she wanted to. She did it off and on, but then they let her try out for drum major. the marching band major or whatever, the one that does all the baton and leads the band or whatever.
Yeah.
And so she did that junior and senior year. So it was lighter marching than like being out on the field with the
Yeah,
actual
it is
band. But
for that lead person. I
they
would
did
have
really
loved to be
good.
color guard because it was always the prettiest outfits and everything.
Dude, our color guard looked like so much fun, and they did the rifles and the
Yeah, that's what I wanted to
man.
do.
That looked like so much fun. And my mom was like, "You're not gonna do that," and I'm like, "Why?" Because
That's
you
how
knock
I learned
yourself
how
the
to
fuck
fire
out.
dance, to be honest. You know those little twirly ropes? That's how I learned how to fire dance.
My mother was like,
Always
"You will
practice at
knock
home.
yourself the fuck out with one of those rifles." Like I'm telling you now.
I never
And
did.
oh god, I was so accident prone though. You have no idea. Like
Yeah, I
she's
was too. I
probably
broke
right.
ankles. I broke my arm. I don't know how many times. My ankle, my foot, my leg. Like most of high school, I was basically on crutches.
Yeah, I feel that. I was in a boot most of senior year.
Really, Gypsy? I would have figured Gypsy for a clarinet girl. She said she played the flute.
Dude, I'll tell you what. I had a buddy of mine. She was like Mexican girl, Latino girl, kind of like mean, great big old gal, meaner than hell. She played the piccolo. Weirded me the fuck out when I found out. I was like, what the fuck?
Like, you're like that, but you play a music instrument that soft?
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, like,
What do I do with this
she will
music
cut you
instrument?
and then play the piccolo over your corpse. Like, it was weird. And my little brother is who narked on me over me playing piano to my mom. When my brother graduated from high school and started college, I was still in college up here at ECU. And he was walking through the music department to one of his music classes. And he heard me playing Moonlight Sonata on the big pipe organ they have at the college.
Ooh, I love that song.
And he followed that sound down the hall to me in the big fucking organ room, like the Phantom of the Opera, hiding in the fucking dark in there playing. And of course, like the Phantom of the Opera, when I realized it was my brother, I hissed, spit, and ran away into the dark. But then he went and told my mother.
What'd she say?
She had to come apart. She wanted me to play piano for their church, and it wasn't going to happen.
Oh, no. I'm that person that would be like, if you ever ask me to play Go Rest Town on a mountain somewhere, I'm going to yodel.
It's not happening. I only like Moonlight Sonata because it's spooky.
Yeah, it is. But I love that song.
I like it on a pipe organ. It's really freaking awesome.
Yes. And I like it on a pan flute too. The pan flutes are really pretty.
I was in debate. I was a mock trial and debate kid. Everybody thought I'd grow up to be a lawyer.
That's pretty cool. I always listened in to debate club, but from 8th grade to 10th grade, I was in the academic club. I was doing those little quiz bowls that we went school to school.
Oh, my friend Brianna did those. She did Quiz Bowl. They actually had a hell of a lot of fun at Quiz Bowl. Like, it was fun, but they never had spaces for anybody. So, like, I wanted to do it, but I couldn't do it because they were always full up.
Yeah, they asked some really crazy questions. Like one of the questions that we had did ask, "What is the meaning of pi?" And then there were a lot of statistic questions. There was a lot of history questions, and you would get a trophy for whatever subject you had and get awards for different things for even participating in those types of things, and it would give you extra credit towards your classes.
Yeah, I wanted to do it really bad because Like I used to sit in and listen to their practices, and it always seemed like a heck of a lot of fun. And like I said, they were always full up, so I never did get to.
Just doing it again.
If you want to be totally jelly, though, do you know what a class is where my son goes to school at?
You've told me a little bit about them.
EA Sports. They play video games against other people as a fucking class.
That's awesome. That teaches a lot of strategy,
They also have aviation
hand-eye
classes.
coordination.
They have aviation classes, and by the time they graduate, they have a pilot's license.
That's awesome.
Like, we did not have that cool shit.
No, I was left out of stuff like that. Like, I wish they would have had classes where they're teaching architecture, but at the same time, you get to freaking play with Legos, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Legos are everything.
Her sister had a robotics class. We didn't have that
You
shit.
just wanted to learn architecture. There you go. You give me a building blueprint, tell me to build this. I can use Legos. Think, people. But no, they had us using cotton swabs. They had us using toothpicks. They had us using those little tongue compressors, popsicle sticks. I want to build with Legos.
No. We didn't have anything that cool. You could take Mass Comm. They had like a in-school like news network thing, and they filmed like their own news stories and shit and ran them. But I didn't get to do any of that shit. Like,
Hunting class, we had a hunting club and we had a fishing club. We had both of those.
he
But
had golf.
woodworking. We had a golf club too. Woodworking was so complicated. I didn't even choose. I didn't choose it as an elective, but let me tell you, they had the coolest teacher ever in high school. This dude's got like long hair, long beard, plays the guitar, and then you meet him, and he's like super hippie. Like if you ever think of Tommy Chong, there you go.
Our shop teacher's name was Dwight Lodenberry. He had two whole fingers on his left hand, three whole fingers on his right hand, was missing most of the rest of shit. And he would fall asleep running the table saw.
Oh no, no.
So that's who we took shop from. It was like, here's some wood and nails and shit. Good luck. Like, that's like,
But even still, I would not fall asleep with a table saw on. I'd be able to hear that damn thing because
dude, he
you
was
could hear it
talking one day.
across the school.
He was holding a torch, holding a cutting torch in his hand, talking to the class. And then he was waiting on everybody else to light their torches and get ready to learn how to cut. And we look over and this motherfucker is dozing off, leaning one elbow on the shop table, holding this torch, dozing off with a lit torch in his hand.
I died to be in freaking educational talent search because they were those kids that could tour with the kids that were part of the transfer programs. So they transferred there from China. They get to go to China. They transferred there from like UK. They'd get to go to UK. And during arts and humanities, there was one time that they all went, and it was one
That's
of
how I went to
the
Germany.
I've
That's
never
how I got to go to Germany.
but with the educational talent search, I got to experience a bit of it and go to Washington.
I went to Germany.
I would have loved that.
I didn't get to go to the UK when they did. Like, I was too late getting. Okay, so the guys that went 9th and 10th grade, they went to the UK. 11th grade year was when I went, and they went to Germany. And that's when my teacher forgot about me. That's a whole other story. Anyway, so I had no chaperone and nobody checked on me for well over a month. They didn't know how I was doing. the other group that went, so I was not allowed to go back. No, they wouldn't let me go back. And then fucking 12th grade year, they got to go to fucking France, and they were in schools in Paris for like most of the year. I was mad.
Yeah,
I
that's
wanted to go to France.
I would have loved to have gone to those different places. You know, it was those times before COVID hit. You could travel anywhere you wanted to. You could go overseas and learn about different cultures, and which I did. I still did. I got to learn about a lot of stuff from New Mexico and South America. And one of the biggest places I learned the most about was Rio and Edinburgh
When
was
when I got into college,
Berlin.
I started at OU um, in the archaeology department, and I did 2 years of that, and then I got homesick, and the school was too big. It was just too much on me, so I left and came back here and went to ECU, much smaller classes and stuff, and changed my major to psychology and law enforcement.
Nice.
But
Nice.
with the archaeology department, I got to travel a lot.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Let me tell you. Like, one of the ones I think I was mentioning not that long ago was where they study stones and all that stuff. I forgot what they call that.
We went to Herod's Palace.
Yeah, because I already know a lot about crystals. I already know a lot about the vibrational energies, and I just want to study more about rocks.
We spent time at Herod's Palace and we spent time in Egypt. And our time in Egypt was fairly short because of civil unrest and shit. So it got where it wasn't safe for females to be there at all.
My aim is to one day, hopefully, open my own metaphysical shop in Salem, Massachusetts. Hi, Tear Tear. Welcome back.
Wait till I move up there and we can all do it.
Yay. Well, you already know how to make the lotions and stuff. I've seen the recipes and everything. I've seen how people use the cheesecloths to work those herbs together and make teas, and I've seen how they basically incorporate remedies into candles, and that's one of the things that I want to do. Like,
Dude, do you know what
if
sold
you're
so
allergic
well at
to
my
like
buddy's
peppermint
metaphysical
or
shop?
eucalyptus, you have that backup that's in this candle that makes it easy for you to breathe.
Dude, so my buddy's metaphysical shop here that was open for a long time, what sold so well at her shop was make your own candle sets.
Hmm.
And they had the deals where you can make your own candle, and it had recipes for healing, or and they had the herbs in the bag, but it was like a whole kit to make your own like magical candles that did things.
See, for the
They
ones that
sold
have
hand over
crystals,
fist.
that's the aim. For the ones that have the crystals on the inside, it's basically a category that I call choose your intention. So it's like a basic white candle, but you can choose to put a grid of crystals in there that you want for a specific situation. And I'm going to call them clusters.
Well, and I will tell you, when you make your own candle and put the oils in there, the candles actually smell better
Mm,
and they smell stronger too. Like
yup.
they're way better.
I don't use the wax kind of stuff that smells really good. I use essential oils, like even the organic ones that are really good for
Yeah, that's what
soy
they were
candles.
using.
The soy candles are really good with organic oils.
They
Whenever
had
you make
teeny
those,
little eyedroppers in the bag with the wax. They were super cute though. It was
I
fun.
tried to let you in, Tier. It didn't work.
Yeah, go
I don't
ahead,
know
babe.
what
You're
happened.
good.
Woodwork and metal. Yeah, definitely.
Another thing I saw that sold really good was
Hey,
kits to
hi.
make your own dream catchers. Those sold pretty
Mhm.
good too.
Yep. Uh, I
People said
actually
their kids liked
create
those.
ones that are actually made out of straw and keep up that tradition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
Bruh.
they had them out of like the sinew and the willow, like the willow sticks where you bent it and then did the. They were great kits, and they people bought them for little kids to do. They were super cool, and we had a few that put them together and brought them back to us.
I would love to find out how I could do that whole thing of how the incense have like a certain smell to it, but people can go up with their incense and then dip them into this, and then it's basically making their own incense.
I saw one of those dillies somewhere, Branson or somewhere like that, where you can make your own incense. It's kind of a neat little place.
Yeah, like my favorite incense in this whole entire world is called Soda Pop. It's got like this little glittery blue stick on it, and it smells like lemon and pine. And
There used to be an incense, and I bet you've seen it. It was called hot amber honey. It had crystals of actual, look like amber crystals on it.
I've
The
never
fucking
seen
thing
those.
smelled like sandalwood and something else together. Man, it smelled so warm and good.
I would love to smell that then.
Best smell.
Love to see
I
it.
can't find it anymore. We used to find it. Like, I went and talked to Audra because she was one that used to sell it. She said one day it just wasn't on the order list anymore, and they have no idea like how to even get it.
Right.
Made me sad. It was wonderful smell. It was like a sandalwood smell, like a warm. It was awesome.
Yeah, Dragon's Blood
Like
is another
men's
one of
cologne
my
and
favorites.
sandalwood together. It's good.
I love the smell of Dragon's Blood, especially those new little bundles. It's not really new, but it's little sage bundles that are Dragon Blood.
I haven't got to smell any of those yet. I need to get me some of those.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I
We
like dragon's blood in general.
but
Smells
have
really
had
good.
like a complete come apart.
Dragon's blood's just a good smell.
Hmm. Definitely. And
There
there's
was another one. There was a really popular one that it was green. I can't think of what it was now, but it was like a mint smell with some kind of herbs. It was a really good smell.
there's a lot of those.
I
I
used
can't
to have an incense that smelled just like fresh cut leather from a saddle
Ooh,
shop. I used to
nice.
burn it all the time. I would start it in
Oh,
the house and I would run outside and wave it around in the car and let it make the car smell good. And then close the car doors and come back in and let it burn the rest of the way out in the house.
yeah. I've even had an incense before that was kind of similar to a perfume that I used to wear. It was called Vampire, and then during the day you couldn't smell it, but at night you could smell like a vanilla type scent, vanilla bean. And then there was an
There
instance
was,
that came out with that done the same thing. Only thing that was different was at night it had this smell that they called gypsy rose, and it was like uh, hydrangeas and uh, orchids. I think it was just like a
that
combination.
sounds familiar because there was one, the Sand Bear sold one called Vampire's Kiss or something, but it was,
Yeah, it's similar to that one. It smells like that one. It
does
smells
it?
just like the vampire's kiss.
Oh man, that smell, that's the one we burnt in the shop all the time because people would walk in and go, "Oh my God, what is that smell?" They'd
Yes.
buy us out of that shit like hand over fist. And we had a purple and black swirled incense too that was
I love those.
jasmine, night flower, and something else. It
Yes,
was,
I
yeah,
love the smell of the jasmine night flower incense. Those
dude,
are amazing.
that smell would knock me the fuck out. Like,
Choline oil, let me tell you, religiously used to rub it behind here, used to rub it here. I used to buy incense rollers from Sage Goddess all the time. Like they had specific ones to a point even where it was dedicated to my moon, it was dedicated to my constellation. They have different ones on there. And there was one that blew my mind. It was called Flower of Life. And it was just a sample for like $10. And it lasted me for a whole bunch of months.
I will tell you, there's something that happens with my skin. My mother hates patchouli, hates it, has hated it her whole life. She associates it with hippies and lesbians for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that's what she associates it with. She's a delight. Anyway, so mom would bitch about patchouli oil, and I got a perfume that had patchouli in it. And I come walk in the house one day, and she goes, "What is that smell?" And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "It smells really good, and I can't place it." And my mom was like on about this all day, and I was like, "Mom, it's patchouli." She goes, "Couldn't be. Patchouli smells like shit." No, it does not.
That's
My
great.
mother's like, "God, you smell so good. Like, I cannot get that smell out of my face." And I'm like, "I am telling you now, it is a generic roller of patchouli oil. That is all the fuck it is." I know. I put it on.
Yes. I love those though. Like there was one that was my favorite. It was called Moon, and it smelled so great. It smelled like a guy's perfume, like a guy's cologne.
Oh
And
man, there was one. What was it
like if
called?
you ever
Arab
smell coal
Nights.
black, that's what it smells like.
There was one called Arab Nights, and it was in the big fat incense sticks. Um, and it had this incredible men's cologne, flowery at the back of it smell that was just
One
like,
that I
oh.
knew that smelled like that was Tommy Hilfiger,
It reminds me of Tommy Hilfiger cologne, but with like some sort of flower back to it,
like Nautica,
sorta.
or was it stronger?
It's sort of like CK1 for men almost,
Oh, okay, yeah, that smells good.
or no, closer to Adidas Black.
Ooh. Now you can't you can't get me off the smell of Adidas, even though it's like I can't be around it too much, but at the same time, it smells so good.
Do you know I cannot wear CK? I cannot wear any of it. The
Wow.
CK, it smells horrible on me. My body chemistry changes it.
Yeah,
I
it's all
cannot
to
wear
do
it.
with those pheromones. And let me tell you, there was a roller of perfume I was so fascinated with. My friend sold it to me from Your Romance, and it basically mixes in with your pH balance. It's like
It's
a
called
pheromone.
Simply Yours, and I have a roller of it in the bathroom.
Yes, yes, I'm addicted.
I know exactly what it is.
Yo, me, I religiously wear lavender oil every day. I rub it behind my ears, on my wrists, and it just calms me through the rest of the day.
I have a spray that goes on your pillow that's lavender.
Did you get that from Pure Romance too? Because let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
they had those.
Yes.
You spray your bed in with it. Oh my god, it smells so good.
Smells really good.
And the
I
other
found
one
out the other day
was the
Febreze,
vanilla
you know, like
candle.
your air freshener in your house. Febreze now has one called Wood, and it smells like a combination of sandalwood and cedar.
How'd you react to that one?
I bought 4 fucking things of it, and now I just saturate my house in it.
So you don't react badly to the cedar smell?
No. All
That's
that gets me
good.
is the pollen in cedar.
Okay. That's good.
I can be around cedar, like the cedar wood. I'm fine. It's the pollen when it blooms.
Yeah.
I just can't be around the pollen.
You can't be around it burning then, can you?
No,
Hello, Peter.
but I can be around the wood by itself. I can't be around the fucking other. I can't be around mesquite pollen either.
Nope. I can't even be around the wood chips for that because
Dude,
it smothers
I
me.
will quit breathing.
Mm-hmm. I'm the same way with that. Good, Peter. How are
That was
you?
the first time in my life I'd been around an allergy that made the top of my mouth itch
Ooh. I
and
hate
my
that.
eyes water.
Yeah, I hate when the roof of my mouth starts itching and I'm like, I can't. If I scratch it, it's just gonna get worse.
My cousin swears that when that happens, you just eat a lot of Ruffles potato chips and they scratch the roof of your mouth as you eat them.
The plain ruffles,
Yes, which is fucking retarded. And she was like,
but it works.
when she said it to me, she was like, "You need to eat Ruffles." I was like, "Excuse me?
Yes.
The fuck is in Ruffles?
I love the way you say ruffles.
The fuck is in Ruffles?" She's like, "They scratch the roof of your mouth." I was like, "So does your fucking finger. Just reach there and scratch the roof of your mouth."
That's the first time I've ever heard of them scratching the roof of your mouth, though. I
That's
love
what she said.
ruffles with life.
She looked me straight faced in the face and said, "Eat Ruffles potato chips." Fucking why? Because they scratch the roof of your mouth when you're eating them. No, they fucking don't. If you eat them like a goddamn horse with lockjaw, maybe. I don't know how you eat, but I don't clamp my jaw shut over and over again from bottom to side and shove the food into the roof of my mouth. Because the fuck, how are you eating?
I can't with you.
Well, goddamn, Ethel, get you an oat bag full of fucking Ruffles. Get all the way through allergy season. Shit.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Peter. Um,
I feel that, Peter. We went through that. What was it, Monday?
yeah,
Tuesday?
Monday.
Monday, yeah.
We went through it for like 3 days straight. What are you
Like
talking
15
about?
fucking tornadoes in Oklahoma. It's like,
Yeah, it happened one day and then it happened for like the next 2 days after, kept getting hit with tornado warnings.
yeah, over and
Damn.
over and over again. And it's not even spring. Wait till April and May hit.
I want a picture of one.
May will be when we will be like grocery shopping at noon, go into the store in the sun, and come out to the apocalypse. That's when May is.
Hi, baby. You need to be laying down.
Is that my baby? That is my baby.
Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, baby.
I let her
Tintin.
borrow my Yoda because I left it in there on the couch and she wasn't content until I gave her my Yoda.
Oh, you better get to bed, sugar pie.
Hi, Madison.
That way you can get up early in the morning.
What
You look so sleepy.
You don't have school tomorrow.
I'm sleepy.
You are sleepy.
You look sleepy. You do look sleepy.
I'm
Do
sleepy.
you not feel sleepy?
No.
No, not even a little.
Hello.
Your eyes say you're sleepy.
I'm not sleepy.
Oh, she always has those dark circles.
Poor baby. So does Joey. Joey's got those natural dark circles.
Her anemia, she gets like really blue under here.
I do it
I
around
love
my
her
lips,
taters.
around my
She's
mouth.
Taters.
yeah, the new taters.
How you say taters?
Yeah, I said taters. What's your favorite thing? Potatoes.
I like potatoes.
Hi.
Hey, I like potatoes.
How to break bone?
Night, Peter. That is from Rick and Morty.
That is
Suddenly, I don't really want my niece looking at that profile picture.
ew. Silly, sorry,
No, it's Morty.
silly.
It is silly.
How's your puppy? It's actually my
Good. It's helping
It's
because you have my baby Yoda.
Is
So,
squeezing you.
We decided to be twinsies. So she has a
Aw.
other puppet, but I have this puppet.
My purse puppet.
Joey really likes those poppets.
Yeah,
She gave
that's
me
what
a
I've been
puppet.
playing with this whole entire time.
Joey plays with an infinity cube almost 24 hours a day.
That's
She
silly.
just got one of those today, so I hope it helps her.
They're actually, they seem to help a lot.
So, guess what?
She might like Rubik's Cubes too.
It hurt me too.
If she gets used to that hand movement with that infinity cube,
But
get her a Rubik's Cube to sit and play with.
my back on the table at school, they said they built me another house and I decorated it.
Awesome.
And it's so pink. I love pink. You remember I love pink? You
Yes.
love red. I'll make you one.
Okay. You
I'll
gonna
make
bring it
you a
home
big
to me?
one. Yeah, I'll make you a big one. It's gonna be delivered in 2 days. I'll come get paid out of it and for $13.
She's gonna get paid, y'all. All right.
Seriously. Hey.
Yep. Mom and the baby.
Necklace. So pretty. Look at it. Pretty.
I've had that one.
You can have it in today? Seriously.
Thank you, Leonie. She's spoiled.
What? I'm not.
Yes, you
A
are.
little,
Aw.
but
Yes, you
a little spoiled.
Aw. Daddy. You feel I'm not.
She's trying to say she's not spoiled.
You are.
A little spoiled. Just a little.
No, I'm not. I'm not little.
It's okay. You're spoiled because you're loved.
How you
It's time for
should.
you to lay down.
I'm spoiled rotten.
Look, don't
Your Uncle B spoils me rotten.
Look, you like
Yeah.
sleepy yet? I'm not even sleep.
Yeah, but you still need to be laying down.
I can't sleep because Mima, she's kind of asleep.
Well, then you need to go in there and lay down.
But remember, you have to move to school.
Not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday.
No, it's going to school for Saturday.
Uncle B has to work tomorrow.
Are you seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Gross, huh?
I seen the pictures of the grandbaby and I want to squish her cheeks.
I love squishy babies.
I love the squishy babies. The squishy babies are so cute. Can you grab that and go lay down? Bedtime. Love you. Hi, Tizzy. Thank you for that. She loves whenever people want to hear and talk to her, especially Discord. Yeah.
Where's
she's
our
sweet.
Steffi?
Huh?
Where's our Steffi? Hers being quiet.
I think she's there. She's been popping in and out.
Yep.
See? She said, yep.
I'm here and getting laundry done. Working with Sissy. Sissy's tired but not going to bed.
Oh no.
Poor baby. Yeah, we're probably about to end it in a couple minutes. Go to 2:30.
Good night, Gypsy.
Good night, Gypsy. Love you too.
I will be teaching about hitchhiker ghosts tomorrow.
Ooh, exciting.
Right? That's what I said. So, with this hitchhiker ghost, I guess we have to wait till tomorrow to figure out what the homework is for that one.
No, the homework is going to be super fun. I'm going to send y'all out to find firsthand accounts from amateur people on Reddit and 4chan and stuff. I want
Ooh.
y'all to go search and find personal stories where
Hmm.
people have accidentally picked up a hitchhiker ghost.
Okay, I'm gonna use a very good movie in this example. I've seen it 100 times. If no one's seen the movie Joyride, go watch it. It is funny in some parts, but it's also a horror movie. But it's really good. It's got like what is his name? I think it's Paul Zahn or something like that. And it's got Paul Walker. It was really good. Lily Sabesky, or however you say her last name. I feel like I butchered that, but yeah, it was that one, and then the movie The Hitchhiker. The movie The Hitchhiker kind of gave me the creeps at first.
I'm telling you, like, so we have one around here, like in my town, that is a little girl, and there was a TikTok going around for a while. A trucker had a forward facing dash cam and he saw her. And for years, it was just a story people told.
I think
But
I've seen
it's a little
TikToks like
girl
where the little
walking
girl's
down the
wearing the
fucking
white
road.
dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she disappears right as he gets to her. Yeah. And it
Mhm.
happened on camera.
I've seen tons of them. I've even seen YouTube videos with like accounts and reports on that.
I had that one night that I had my friend on Discord with me. And I was on in the car driving home. And I got to the bridge up here. And a voice in my car from the back seat goes, "I died over there." And she heard it through the fucking Bluetooth speakers in the car. She goes, "What's that?" And I was like, "I fucking up." So I slammed on the brakes. I was like, "Get out of my car." Like, get out. Get the fuck out of my car. I don't care where you died. Get out.
Right?
And
Like
she was
I would have
like,
been home.
flipped out. It took me 2 hours to calm her down because she heard him clear as a bell. He literally was in the back seat, just talked out loud. "I died over there." I was like, in the middle of the road, like slammed on the brakes. She
Look,
was like,
let
"The
me
fuck
tell
was
you, the
that?"
first time that you ever said hitchhiker ghost to me, I automatically think of those ghosts that literally backpack with you from one house to the next house.
Yeah.
Because automatically you're picking up this one here because you live here, and then now when you move somewhere else, it's gonna follow you. So that's my
Well,
automatic
hitchhiker
thought.
ghosts are a term
Mhm.
specifically, those are attachments that you're talking about.
Mhm.
Hitchhiker ghost is a term reserved for ghosts that are found along highways or that get into the car with you.
Yeah.
Um, there
It's
are a
the
lot of
attachments that
stories
I
where
thought
people
of
have,
because technically
yeah,
they're hitchhiking from one house to the next one.
there are a lot of stories where people have picked up someone who has asked them to take them somewhere and they've dropped them off, or they've pulled up to drop them off and they're no longer in the car.
Hmm.
Like it happens a lot. There are hundreds of these stories.
Yeah, like nope. Mm-mm. I'm trying to think because there's a couple movies that are running in my mind right now where someone was basically thinking, "Oh, this spirit's real," and then the next minute they turn around, it's not.
There was
Like
one of the scary
they
stories to tell in the dark, I think, was about a hitchhiker, wasn't it? From the book, not the movies.
yeah,
Wasn't
from the
there one
book.
of the stories that was about a hitchhiker?
Hmm. There was a Stephen King book about one. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Then, of course, there's Resurrection Mary. She's the most famous one.
I've never heard of that one.
Well, that's in Chicago, and I'll tell that story tomorrow.
Okay, story time.
Story time.
Yes, I can't wait for that. Like, I love horror stories. Some of here, I'm like, here we go. This one's interesting. There's a YouTube about a certain highway where a serial killer took most of his victims. Let me go there. There is plenty of documentaries about highways where serial killers are involved. The Night
Yep.
Stalker was one of the many. Night
Mhm.
Stalker is said to technically be deceased, but a lot of people are saying he's not. A lot of people were saying that the Night Stalker was Romero, but at the same time, they were saying it could not have been. Uh, and the next thing you know, just those certain people that are like that walking the streets, you never expected it. And the next thing you know, there's just counts of people murdering them right there on the edge of the street where they were walking. And one of the ones that I came across was the Ghost of the Mountains, or the Ghost Trucker, where these people are reporting this semi that's constantly on the roads or riding people's butts on the roads, and then the next minute it's going underneath a bridge and it doesn't come out the other side. Or if it's riding along a highway or one of the country roads, it'll just not be there the next day. Like they caught this on camera one time, and then the next minute thing you know, it's just completely gone. You see headlights, hear it honking, all that stuff, and then the next thing you know, any cameras or anything, and they just don't see it.
Years and years ago, when I lived in McAllister, Oklahoma, I was on Highway 69 headed north, and it was at night, and I was headed to a friend's house, and I come around the bend, and I could see a woman walking, real funny, like she was hurt, and I could see her in my headlights, solid as day. Um, and I stopped, killed the headlights, like killed the car, and I got out and I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And she just kept walking like she couldn't hear me. And I was like, "Hey," and I started walking that way, and she was gone, like right in front of me. She was just fucking gone. And I just got this wicked ass feeling. And so I got in the car and I drove forward, and I was looking in the ditch and all along looking for her. Didn't find her. So it sat with me big time. And I said something to my friend Mary, who lived in town, because she'd grown up there her whole life. And she knew the woman's name. She said her name. She said that a lot of people see her, described what she was wearing, something I didn't even tell her, described what she was wearing down, I mean, the whole 9 yards, and said that she had died in a wreck and her car rolled into the creek bed. And it took them a few days to find her because her car was like where nobody could see it. And when they had retraced their steps, they found her car eventually. But she knew exactly who she was, name and everything, and she's seen frequently out there.
Goodness, like it's things like that, and then I've heard stories about Bye Bye Bridge. I've heard stories about Suicide Bridge. Like where they
Oh,
see the
eventually I will be doing haunted bridges.
yeah, like the ghosts that are walking along the highways that died on those bridges in particular. Uh, One time there was someone that reported that they picked someone up along that highway, and then they were telling them, drop me off at the bridge. And then there was another case where they picked someone up and they hadn't told them where to go. They just pointed, and all they know is this person has like a bruise around their neck. Dude's describing it, and he's telling everybody about how he's taking this person where they supposedly said was home. The dude barely has a voice that he's taken home. Like, it sounds like he's struggling.
Yeah.
And then he ends up dropping him off at the Bye Bye Bridge. And after that, the only thing that was left was like a handprint on his window. And it was the creepiest story I ever heard. I was like, nope. Mm-mm.
There's a lot of them. A lot of really famous hitchhiker ghosts throughout the nation as well. And that's why I think homework wise, instead of sending everybody out to find one of those, I want people to go look for firsthand accounts of people who have been like, hey, this happened to me. Either they saw one on the highway or it got in the car, or hell, even if they know somebody who's had something happen, tell us the story.
There we go. This was a good one. Old pubs. I love old pubs. Let me tell you why. There was this story of a pub where two lovers had met in Berlin. And I had always been told this story about a friend that lived there. And he would always see her reflection still on the other side of the glass. But when he went outside, she was never there. And whenever she was walking by there, she'd always see the memories of him singing with the guys in the pub. And then it just ghosts away to her. Like it'd be like the ghost of a memory. It's something that replayed for her constantly, is what a medium had said about that situation.
Well, y'all's Highway 20 up there in Oregon has had a serial killer named John Aykroyd. Killed
See,
a
I've
bunch of
heard of
women.
serial killers up in this area, but I haven't
Yeah.
heard of that.
You can look it up. The story, they call it the Ghosts of Highway 20, but it's not about ghosts. There was
Highway
a
what?
series of women that were murdered by this guy named John Aykroyd on Highway 20 in Oregon. It's like, it was a big deal.
I'll have to look into that. That might be one of the many things that I include in there. It has to be local, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah.
It doesn't have to be local. It can be from anywhere. I just want people to
Well, I know a
find a
couple in
first-hand
Kentucky.
account.
Like, there's this bridge that looks similar to Sleepy Hollow's bridge, and there's reports of a lot of hitchhiker ghosts there. I forgot what the bridge is called, and I forgot where it's located too, but I still remember what that bridge looks like. I can't get the image of that bridge out of my head. Yeah, it's some pretty cool stories about what had happened to different people on those encounters in Kentucky. I mean, I think the last one was an Asian girl who come out of the woods of Adairsville, which is in Kentucky. It's like a really big country place, and they have a whole bunch of rivers and everything there. And they would always see her coming out of woods and on the road, and there was a guy that picked her up one day. They said supposedly that was the reason why he went missing, but I can
Well, Oregon,
or deny that.
Highway 101 that runs through Cannon Beach has a urban legend slash boogeyman called the Bandaged Man.
The bandaged man.
Yep.
Ooh,
And he jumps on vehicles and attacks vehicles,
nice.
only to eventually vanish.
I like that. See, here's the bandaged man. If you ever seen the movie Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon,
Yeah,
that's
that's what I
literally
thought of
the
immediately.
case.
But he jumps into their cars, jumps onto their cars, all kinds of stuff, but he's covered in bandages.
Yo.
Some people say they've seen him on the beach or walking down Highway 101,
Ooh.
but they call it Bandage Man Road, that particular stretch that runs back that connects to Cannon Beach.
Would that technically be considered a hitchhiker ghost?
Yeah, he's a hitchhiker ghost.
That's awesome. Learn new stuff every day.
They think that he was a logger,
The
or the
spirit of
local
people.
legend goes that he was a logger who was injured severely in a logging accident.
Leonie was asking if that was like the Japanese spirit on Teen Wolf.
I've never seen Teen Wolf. I have no idea.
I've never seen it either. I got as far as like the third episode on that season.
I'm sorry, the
I never
CW lost me at the word teenage. I was out. Like
these right
I
here.
almost didn't make it through fucking Vampire Diaries. Okay, listen. So
Yeah, that's essentially what it's like.
my
After
friend
watching
forced me to watch
Fear
Vampire Diaries,
Yeah, it was a lot like
and
Vampire
then I just
Diaries
got
and the
hooked on
story
the
behind
fucking
it.
yeah. I got hooked on the story, so I continued watching it. And then they started the fucking originals, and then I had to go watch that motherfucker. Then I had questions.
Yeah, Legacies didn't help with those questions.
No, it did not. And I'm not going down another rabbit hole. I will never watch Teen Wolf.
Ooh,
It's not happening.
Here we go, Timmy. Rumors have it the mother was Lady of the Night. Now, I've heard a lot of those stories. If you think of the Woman in Black movies that came out, hello. No,
Yeah.
no. Nope.
There is a story around here, and it is called Weeping Bridge.
Ooh.
It is in the middle of nowhere. It is a old wood bridge. Used to be a railroad bridge, not a car bridge, a railroad bridge. And there's stories of a woman, and many people have seen her. They hear a baby crying, and she walks up to the bridge, and it looks like she drops the baby off the bridge. She's all in black.
Hold on.
Multiple people have actually called the cops.
Didn't they make a movie about that?
I have no idea, but many people have actually called the cops because
There
they
was a
tried to
movie
stop her. And when they get up there, she's gone.
Yeah, there was a movie about that. There was like a woman that was in black. I can't remember the name of the movie, but
I can't remember either, but
yeah, she was coddling her baby, and she was walking and she was humming, and next thing you know, she just.
yep. And like I think it made the news one time here in Oklahoma. But like I've never been out there. The last thing I fucking want to see is all that shit. No.
Yeah, I'm
That'll
not.
mess me up. I'm out. I'm
If
good.
you ever hear about the Edinburgh tunnels, I'll tell you about this one, Tizzy, because it's
I've been
where you're at.
I've been below Edinburgh.
Oh, those tunnels. All I've seen are pictures, and I'm like,
It's a whole other experience to walk in them. Queen
nope.
Mary's Close. Yeah, I've been in there.
Because I've been in haunted houses. Don't get me wrong, and they're similar. You know, like they got all those dolls and stuff like right here as soon as you walk in, and when you walk in further, it's just like where they used to have the bodies and stuff, because it used to be catacombs.
Well, there's a spot under Edinburgh called Queen Mary's Close,
Yeah,
and it used to be shops. The shop fronts are still there on some of them. Edinburgh built up, not out,
yeah.
and they would just raise the street level. Rumor has it there's many levels underneath the ground, not just the one that you can tour. There's many more levels under there.
Yeah, there's where the vaults come in.
And they have those stuffed animals are under there. There's a child spirit, I think they said.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't remember the tour because there was so many spirits down there.
there's a child spirit, and then the male
But
spirit.
people bring their stuffed animals
Yeah,
and dolls. They bring your loveys.
you see like a shrine as soon like I've had
Hmm.
someone send me pictures of the basic stuffed animal shrine and porcelain dolls and candles lit, and I'm
I
like,
was going to be on Facebook Live when we went down there, and I had no signal. So, but it's a good thing because I was like tunnel vision while I was down there. I wanted out. I've never wanted out of somewhere more in my whole life,
there was a lot of bodies down there.
dude. They're all still there.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of them still there.
ugh,
It's like it's worse than the Great Wall of China, probably.
it's bad. It's way bad. It's all bad. It's not a place you want to be.
Oh, here, there we go. You can only see their heads and shoulders because they're walking on the old road. Oh, those are always fun. I have to say the most soldiers I ever saw was what part of Kentucky was that?
Yeah, the old Roman roads.
Close to
It's actually a
Tennessee.
place we went to in England. I can't remember where it's at, but it was a field where this legend had it that the Ninth Legion of the Roman army vanished during a battle there,
Yeah,
and I've been there. It's not a pleasant place to be.
I bet not.
It's
My
not.
mother brought back 2 stones from a Roman road when she was in London.
Nope. Skip me with that shit.
Only one has any energy. The other one is just a
Just a rock.
yeah, just the one has stuff.
I thought my mom was gonna have a stroke because my brother, during the tour of the Alamo, if you grew up in Texas, the Alamo is like a worship place, okay? And like my brother took a tour of the Alamo, and there was a rock that had broke loose from the edge of the building, and my brother reached down and took it, put it in his pocket. When he brought home a chunk of the Alamo, I thought my mom was gonna lose shit. We're gonna take a trip to Alabama and put it back. Like she just lost it because she was like, "You can't just take a piece of great American history and walk off with it." My brother was like, "Oh, it was really easy actually. I just picked it up, put it in the pocket, and walked off." Like,
Right. I mean, the first time that I went to the Bell Witch place, they were like, "Don't take anything from that cave. Don't do it, because I promise you, whatever you take from that cave is gonna go home with you."
oh yeah, no,
I
no,
mean,
we're good.
there was I wrote a letter, and I'll tell you, I did put a letter in there. Like they tell people not to, but I did put one in there, and it
I
was
will never
basically
go there.
a memoir play, like a memoir letter that I wrote, and it wasn't to anybody in specific. It was just like something that I felt inspired to write, and then I placed it under a stack of rocks, and I left it there in the cave. And I'll have to tell you, the strongest thing that stood out to me while I was there was a little Native American boy, and he was spot on with headdress, a little torn white shirt, and some like it looked like deer skin slacks, and he was barefooted, and he was one of the main ones that I seen so vividly while I was there. And I just thought it was the most fascinating thing because those caves go all the way back.
You know what the most haunted
It's
place I've ever been in the whole world?
what?
Herod's palace.
Who?
Herod's palace. King Herod's palace.
Oh, Herod's palace.
Hmm?
I thought you said Herod. I was like, what?
Nope. When I was at OU, we took an archaeological expedition deal for the school to Herod's palace. Never mind the fighting over there. All of that crap aside, Herod's palace was crawling with activity, and it's nothing but it's basically ruins and ground, but it is so much energy right there.
So what does that palace have to do with like whose palace was it?
King Herod
Oh,
of the Bible, Herod.
oh, oh. So where is that at?
Um,
I don't know that much about the Bible. I know what I need to know.
it's
That's
in
what
Jerusalem.
that's all I need. Yeah. But I think the biggest people that I remember from the Bible was between Solomon and Xerxes. Good evening, Andy. That's a new name. Even if nothing happens, they're allowed to torture people in the 50s to cure them. Yeah, that was a definite big thing, especially in the mental health field. I mean, if you look at Waverly Hills, that was one of the biggest places that was very big on that in Kentucky. That was in Louisville, Kentucky. And yeah, it's definitely huge on electroshock therapy. It was huge on strapping patients down to give them medication. It was very huge on doping all these people up. So they're basically all walking zombies while they're walking around this place. Was the best thing I could get out of the history of that place. Yeah, people were buried alive with no repercussions. I'll tell you the deep story that I know about that place. A lot of the bodies were stacked up in the body tunnel instead of taken out the gate where they had the opening and out the tunnel and buried with no grave markings. But the body chute is what they called it, and they had bodies lined up, and they'd be wrapped in sheets and they would burn them in those piles, especially the sick ones. They would burn in piles. Uh, I have to say, a place I learned about orphans was a Protestant church. I cannot remember where it is placed at, but there was a lot of people that were shoved into this church, especially orphans that did not practice the Protestant religion. This was time of Martin Luther. It was very big. Uh, they shoved all these people in the church, caught the church on fire, and a whole bunch of people died. So they have a big cemetery that's circling this church. I cannot remember where that church is at. Yeah, indeed. Consent was not a big thing, especially if you were seen as mentally incompetent or not responsible for yourself. They just took advantage of those situations, and even people who were sane and just had bipolar were seen as completely insane and um, what do they call it? Unstable. There you go.
Yeah.
But then again, back in those days, they didn't know what bipolar was. They didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't have no medications for it. They just solved it the best way they knew how. Especially people like me, like sit there and, automatically go out there and say, hey, like I see spirits, I see things that I shouldn't. And that would result in electroshock therapy. If you go way back in history, that would result in you burning that steak. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
People were horrible. I mean, we can go back to Joan of Arc, who was burned because what she seen throughout life was heresy, according to a lot of people. And she was a part of the Catholic groups. Like, she was a part of the Templars, even. Like, that was a part of her history. And then the next thing you know, they're just like, oh, here, let me just automatically judge her for what she's gonna believe that she sees at this current amount of time. Like, she believed that she saw prophecies, and she admitted it to one of the, I think it was a high bishop. I'm not gonna quote myself on that, but uh, she had admitted it to somebody who was within the church that was really high up, and they're like, oh, it's one of those incidents with Paul Revere and the British is coming. I'm gonna shout it to the world, and yeah, you're basically gonna pay for what you just said. I've never heard of Fort Pickens and Fort Barranacos or Barrancos, however you pronounce that, but definitely on the imaginary friends. Like, imaginary friends, a lot of parents sit there and tell kids that it's wrong for them to have imaginary friends, that it's wrong for them to do those things and create someone that they'll bond with within their own mind. And it's just, I think a lot of people freaked out about that. And it was just like, I don't want my child to seem like they're crazy when really that wasn't the case. Your child was being creative, and that's definitely not a bad thing. Anything the church did not teach, that is so correct, was was of the devil's eyes for the clergy. I mean, that's the biggest statement I will say is so true, because whatever they didn't teach, if they didn't go into depths with the chapters, you'll hear the Vatican scream no, and they freaked out about situations like that. They never let anyone discuss stuff like that. And if a preacher got too far into the Bible and trying to translate it further, especially certain passages and scriptures, they got in trouble for it. They were basically demonetized. They were stripped of their titles throughout history, and it just kept passing down.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the Maori, but that sounds pretty neat. That's probably something I should look into. Learn new things every day. Yeah. Learning from a few people in the past. And that's the thing about it. Like, with a lot of these things that are so, I guess you could say, prominent with the future, is you have to look at the history of it. You have to look at the past of it. Just like when you move into a home, you're looking at the blueprints of a home that you've been sold. You're looking at the foundation of the land that it was originally built on. You're looking at the true history behind that home before you purchase it. and you want to know every little nook, cranny, and secret that's right behind it, especially if it's an old home, an old historic home, old Victorian home. A lot of the French ones even, uh, and that was mainly because deep behind those histories, there's someone's past involved. There's someone else's experiences that will affect someone else to this day, and that is basically mirroring itself. You see it in a lot of psychological movies where they move into a house and then instantly it's I'm you're this person, but at the same time, the past life that was there before you is being mirrored onto you, and it's I forgot what they call that, but it's in psychology somewhere.
Yeah, Leonie, there's a lot of really good Maori stories from New Zealand. I've run across lots of them.
We haven't come into any storms here yet, Steffi, but it might be headed our way pretty soon. I would not put it past this weather lately. Well, that's good. New Zealand, you told me that's where you were from in the chat one day. And I'll tell you the history behind that land. I would love to just put a toe on there if that's what it takes and be like, wow. Because there's so much history on that land, it's ridiculous. East Coast.
Oh, I love the Maui books.
I haven't read any, but you know, something learned, something to learn. No blizzards. I don't want any blizzards, Andy.
I'm good. I'm already in tornado season. We're done with all that.
Right.
I'll take my tornadoes. Thanks.
No
You know why? Because it means I don't freeze to death.
more snow. Exactly. But I am going to call it a night, y'all.
I'll take death if that's real.
No.
I hear my brother.
Yes. If
Welcome
you
home, brother.
have death, then I will not be able to live without you. I love you too much.
Oh, me too.
All right. I love y'all.
You didn't have to get off, but
I'm getting off because I'm getting tired.
Night night. See y'all later.
Night night.
Sleep well, Grim.